Mr. President, Mr. Secretary General, distinguished colleagues and friends, the High-Level Week is a welcome reminder that the vast majority of nations, large and small, do seek global unity. That the division we talk so much about is only sought by the few, and this gives me great hope. Yet, as we open the 79th General Assembly, we cannot close our eyes for the fact that conflicts and war are raging across the world. Mr. President, it is utterly unacceptable that
I just want to say one thing. I haven't heard this. Oh, damn, was my mic on mute? This is crazy, y'all. Yeah, maybe my mic was on mute in the introduction. So let me start that one over. Doggone, what's up with StreamYard? How do I do this? Yeah. Let me get back to what I was saying 2 seconds. Sorry, y'all. Yeah, because I'm still getting the gist of this. Is it this one? No. It's this one? Then it's this one? Right, here we go. Sorry about that. In case you didn't hear me. This is laws. We're going to be on our regular schedule program today, but this is Lars Løkke Rasmussen. He's one of the ex-prime ministers from like a decade ago in Denmark, and that's the country where I live. As an American citizen, I've been telling people a lot about Denmark. For Americans that want to know what life is like outside, I've been telling people that if you live in New York, LA, Atlanta, places, major cities, Chicago, Washington, D.C., and you pay taxes, federal taxes, state taxes, sales taxes. Since taxes are organized in the U.S. that way, I'll just let you know that we pay the same tax here in Denmark, pretty much, except the rich, the wealthy pay a little more. And what you get for this is, for everyone, is paid education, housing insurance, universal health care, 5 weeks vacation for everyone that works from work, 5 weeks vacation from work, 1 year vacation for each child that is born, so you can stay at home, become a parent for the first time or the second time or the third time, things like that. And so that's some of the stuff that you get within the tax system, the standard tax system in Denmark. And we pay basically around the same amount of taxes when you add all the taxes up in the U.S. as you pay in the U.S., So just to let you know. Now, I was surprised today, even though we're going to be on the regular schedule program, I was surprised today to see this. I didn't know this Lars Løkke Rasmussen was going to speak at the UN today. I had no idea. But just because that's current news, I want to check it out and see what he has to say. So here we go, for those of you that are interested.
That a permanent member of the Security Council continues to violate the most basic principles of the UN Charter. Wars of aggression are altering borders, and altering borders is and should remain a thing of the past. An imperial practice that has absolutely no place in the 21st century. Denmark will persist to stand by Ukraine, and we will do it as long as it takes, and we will support a just and lasting peace. The summit on...
Okay, so he's talking about Ukraine. That's interesting. I had no idea. Denmark, as a NATO nation, has been active in, helping to support Ukraine in numerous ways. There's Ukrainian immigrants, as you know, if you've been following the news, every NATO country has Ukrainian citizens that migrated because of that invasion, right? A lot of people fled across the borders, went to Poland, and then they split up to different countries, and each country agreed to take a certain amount. And when they come into the country, they obtain the same pretty much the same rights that everyone else has. And I think they got somewhat of a fast track into some part of the society, and that's something people can debate whether that's proper or not. But in any case, they wouldn't be the only people to actually have this kind of what can I say, that are immigrants, for asylum purposes, for emergency purposes. So in any case, let me hear a little bit more, Rasmussen.
Peace that was held in Switzerland in June clearly showed that there's strong global support for peace based on the UN Charter. Therefore, we must use our influence to further the cause of peace. But it must be a peace that does not reward the aggressor for his brute use of force. Otherwise, we set a very, very bad precedent. Otherwise, we undermine the principle on which the UN was founded. Mr. President, almost a year has passed since Hamas's horrendous attack on Israel the 7th of October. The cruelty and barbarity we witnessed that day was shocking, and I think none of us are able to really comprehend the shock and trauma this day has caused upon Israel, and which will forever symbolize the darkest chapter.
Oh, is he talking about Israel now? Okay.
Able to really comprehend. Mr. President, almost a year has passed since Hamas's horrendous attack on Israel the 7th of October. The cruelty and barbarity we witnessed that day was shocking, and I think none of us are able to really comprehend the shock and trauma this day has caused upon Israel, and which will forever symbolize the darkest chapter of the country's history. The terrorism of Hamas sparked a downward spiral of human suffering, instability. The humanitarian situation in Gaza is catastrophic, and the human suffering unbearable. Hundreds of thousands of people have been displaced all over the region, and there's a very, very real risk of an all-out regional war, which would affect not only the people in the region, but all of us. This must end, and this must end now. A ceasefire is urgently needed. All parties should exercise restraint and contribute to de-escalation. Thinking about tomorrow, thinking about the future. Not tomorrow, not next week, but right now. The current horrible situation may also contain the seeds of a new beginning. A new beginning leading to a just and lasting peace for all, unleashing the potentials of the whole region, allow everybody to see a future for themselves and their children, breaking with the vicious circle of violence that has lasted much too long. Such a more promising future can only be based on the two-state solution.
Okay, so Denmark is backing up, again, the two-state solution. And that's also what Biden has been discussing, and prior presidents in the last 20 years, 30 years, but not Trump. Trump, he's the one who kind of went outside of the two-state solution, and one of the issues with that is when he moved the American embassy. Now, let me pull something up here, just for folks to see. How was Trump moving the USA embassy into what is known as occupied territory seen by supporters of the two-state solution. And yeah, supporters of the two-state solution and supporters of Pal- Palestinian people. Just to give people an overview, it pretty much, you could say, is what ignited the more recent attacks a year ago. It didn't come immediately, but it was taken as an offense and a violation of the two-state solution. But I always like to back up my facts. So while I say them, I usually double check them just to see if there's something off. So yeah, but so Lars Luca Rasmussen, one of the ex prime ministers of Denmark, he is talking about the two-state solution, and apparently they want people to get back on the two-state solution. Something Trump broke away from, which a lot of people blame for this last, onslaught of fighting. People blame Trump for that. If, in case you don't know, that was a violation. Trump moving the U.S. embassy from Israel to occupied territory is seen as one of the major reasons why the new violence a year ago kicked off from Hamas, Iran, these kind of things. Because they're saying we had a deal, there was a two-state solution, and now you're moving the U.S. embassy into occupied territory. Occupied territory means territory Israel is supposed to remove itself from. So let's continue. For all of you Trump supporters, now we know Trump supporters pretty much don't give a damn who dies, how many Palestinians die, or Israelis die, because after all, why would you break the two-state solution if we're the ones that are supposed to help protect both parties? If the United States and NATO nations and others are protecting both parties and want both parties to come to a stop, and they created the two-state solution to help resolve the matter, why would you do something that goes against it? You see? So although Trump and Trump supporters won't take blame for that, because they never really do, that's what happened, in case you want to know, for people that don't really follow the news cycle, don't follow the treaties, things like that, even though you pay taxes to write the treaties, to participate in the treaties. So, I mean, you do, so you may as well follow the ones your leaders come up with, if you can, if you got a leader that follows them. But Trump didn't. But in any case, Lars, look at Rasmussen, is backing up the two-state solution so far on the UN level, calling for a succession of violence to cease so that babies can stop dying, and so that it doesn't break into a larger war. Because I'm going to tell you, there's a lot of American assets overseas. For you Trump supporters, in case you don't know where a lot of the wealth of the U.S. comes from trade, and also in case you don't know where your security comes from security, right? Being out there in different parts of the world, protecting your trade, also keeping certain emerging militaries back from the U.S. so they don't creep up on your doorstep and attack you. These kind of things. Um, you got to pay close attention to when you're thinking about your life as well. There's the micro, which you see every day in front of your face, and then there's the macro, which you don't see every day in front of your face. You hear from afar, but is also relevant. So let's hear him say that again.
Such a more promising future, with the vicious circle of violence in the whole region, allowing everybody to see a future for themselves and their children. Situation may also contain the seeds of a new beginning, leading to a just and lasting peace for all, unleashing the potentials of the whole region.
Okay, I see you, Ralph, and Andrea. Sorry about that. I got to pull up the chat up in here too. I'm not used to this program, but I'm just getting used to it now. So Let me link that up.
Allowing everybody to see a future for themselves and their children, breaking with the vicious circle of violence that has lasted much too long. Such a more promising future can only be based on the two-state solution. And we all need to work together to create the conditions for that two-state solution to materialize. By building the capacity of the Palestinian Authority to take on the role of legitimate and effective government in the future Palestinian state. By stabilizing the West Bank, and by already now start preparing for early recovery and reconstruction of Gaza.
I mean, yo, I'm gonna drop the link. But yo, see, this is my point. What he just said, the reconstruction of Gaza. Yeah, the reconstruction of Gaza. But it just goes to show you war, fighting, shooting rockets, two countries that really don't make, or not two countries, because Palestine is not really even a country yet. They don't even have an official, a real military. They are just barely on. I mean, they're not even on their feet anymore, but they were just barely on their feet before. But let's be honest, Israel, Palestine, they don't have the ability. They don't make weapons. So all the fighting that's going on from either side, from Hamas's side, from Iran's side, Hamas's side, and even from Yemen, also Israel, they don't make weapons. So it's important for people to understand that this fight could not even really happen if there were not other players involved. And the United States is a major player, obviously, because we have been supporting Israel for years with arms, money, support, all types of aid. But they're not the only people involved here. They're not the only actors. And Palestinians there also have at times been some poor actors on the Palestinian side. Obviously, that's the history of it too. You had the split between the PLO, right? Israel didn't want the PLO, so what did they do? They financially funded Hamas. Now Hamas is attacking Israel. It's this kind of these kind of weird things going on there that have led to death. And again, my view on it personally, this is just my view, and I can't be wrong because it's my opinion. Largely, it's just an opinion. It's not necessarily a fact. What the hell? Hold on. Let me see something. How do I put this? Y'all see that in the chat? Yeah, there you go. I need to do something about this. I don't really know how this works, but my personal opinion is, how do I get back in the chat here, man? I need to get off of this thing. Sorry, it just screwed me over. There we go. My personal opinion about the matter is that the people that are most responsible for ceasing the fighting are the people that are in danger, direct danger. I mean, if the United States and Mexico wanted to fight each other, there would be people supporting Mexico, sending Mexico arms and things like that. But the thing about it is that if the people don't want to fight, nobody can make them fight. No one could make Mexico attack the United States if they don't hate us. And if we don't hate them to that extent, nobody could make us fight, no matter who's supplying us with what. And that's what I'm saying about this situation. There's a problem there. And the number one issue is that there's people that want to kill each other. And I'm not talking about the Palestinians. There's other people that want to kill the Israelis. And the Israelis, obviously, they don't have a problem using weapons on others too, in response or for whatever reason, not to mention some of the other things that have been going on, bombings for the years in Israel. Do you think bombing is the answer? Do you think bombing is the answer? Me, I don't think it's the answer. I call it terrorism. I don't think bombing is the answer. Do you think bombing in Somalia is the answer to war, to conflicts? No. If you ask Somalis, they would tell you, hell no, they're tired of that shit. That's what's ripped their country apart, and that's what stops them from just getting to building and using their own resources. Outside violence, outside players, terroristic tactics, these kind of things. So, in any case, let's listen. I'm just letting my American brothers and sisters hear. I was surprised for the first time. This is one of the ex-prime ministers of Denmark, and I'm only playing it because I live in Denmark. I'm an American citizen, and we pay the same taxes as most of y'all pay in the U.S. and the major states, except we get universal health care. Our kids get paid education. They get paid to go to school. I get 5 weeks vacation every year, guaranteed. Everyone does. Every child I have, I get a year off paid leave from work. You know, housing insurance for the same amount of tax dollars. So I just want y'all to hear what's coming out of this prime minister's mouth. I don't know if it's going to be any different from what the U.S.'s stance is, but as you can see in this election cycle, there's people in the U.S., their stance on how to take care of their own citizens in their own country is not the same as this man speaking. In this man's country, people get something for their tax dollars. They get civil rights, paid education, universal health care, 5 weeks leave from work, 1 week leave, paid leave from work when you have a child, and some other things. So just keep that in mind when you're listening to Lars Løkke Rasmussen.
I call on all parties to make such a development possible.
Hey, what's up? What's the word?
To the benefit of the people of Israel, to the benefit of the people in Palestine, and thereby to the benefit of the whole region and the world at large. Mr. President, we often talk about Ukraine and Gaza in these halls. But sadly, people are dying and people from conflicts in many other countries.
Facts.
I'm deeply concerned with the continued fighting in Sudan and the humanitarian consequences for...
You know what I'm saying? And hey, people have to understand out here, what's going on in Palestine, it's not the only place. In Israel, it's not the only place where there's killing going on with foreign weapons. And I'm going to tell you straight up, where the weapons coming from in Sudan. Anybody know? You think it's come from the U.S., the weapons? Only the U.S.? Or do you think there's other actors, China selling weapons to rebels, or, any of this stuff? I mean, pay attention, because there's a lot of groups involved in selling weapons to people that are in wars, and these people don't even make weapons themselves. And what I'm saying, myself, I don't think it's wise to be out there killing anybody, especially if you don't make weapons yourself, and especially if you don't even have a society that's self-sustainable yet. That's never wise, in my opinion. In fact, that's actually the problem, if you ask me. But if that's what you choose to do, that's on you. You can choose to do that. I don't choose to do that. You know what I'm saying? I don't choose to do it. So
the civilian population.
The Congo, Sudan, North Sudan, South Sudan, East Congo, Central Congo, and there's more.
More than 10 million people have been displaced. In Sudan, there is an urgent need for political dialogue and for putting a halt to the conflict. As there is in Yemen, in Haiti, Syria, Afghanistan, Myanmar, the Democratic Republic of Congo, the list goes on. And in the wake of our collective inability to stop wars, the respect for international law slowly. As a small country, Denmark is conscious and security depend on international rule of law. The respect for basic UN principles, sovereign equality, territorial integrity and political independence for all states is fundamental to international peace and security. And as we uphold these principles, the respect for human rights and international humanitarian law must be at the core. Denmark is a strong supporter of the international justice system and the work and independence of the ICC and the ICJ. The
ICC is the International Criminal Court.
Has an important role in the peaceful settlement of disputes, and the ICC is crucial for the global fight against impunity. Without respect for international law, we are looking at a world where might makes right and brute force rules. And this is
the thing that gets me. A lot of countries, a lot of people you hear, it's not countries, a lot of people you hear talk about the ICC, and then at the same time we'll go back and talk about imperialistic governments and imperialism. But let me tell you something. A lot of tragedies have gone on and genocides have gone on by non-superpowers who have funded others to commit acts. So I don't know. Is the ICC something that's good? Is the ICC something that's bad? Because a lot of them, it seems to be when someone that a person doesn't like or a person likes is on the ICC list, then all of a sudden they don't support the ICC. You know what I'm saying? Then they don't support that court. But when it's someone that's bad, they support it. I'll give you an example. I think, isn't there something about the ICC with Putin right now? How many people support Putin's ass getting caught up? Do you support it? Do you support Bush being arrested? You know what I'm saying? For, crimes? You see what I mean? I mean, I don't know. It's up to you to decide. But yeah, we'll see about that.
Very, very dangerous. Mr. President, I began by stating that the vast majority of nations, luckily, seek unity and international cooperation. Earlier this week, in the Pact for the Future, we all reaffirmed our commitment to the UN Charter. And we outlined a clear direction towards a transformed system of global governance. The existing system has enabled nations to lift people out of poverty, millions of people, to eradicate diseases, and to advance better education for children around the globe. This is indeed big achievement. But after almost years of service, that system is in need of a serious update. Mr. President, it is urgent to reform the international financial architecture. It needs to be more representative, it be more effective. Denmark supports a stronger representation of countries in the Bretton Woods institutions. That global financial supports a stronger representation of African countries in the Bretton Woods institutions. We agree that global financial safety nets must support all countries, including the poorest, when a major crisis hit. This should not be dependent on voluntary donors' contributions. We agree that all countries, on an equal basis, must be subject and accurate credit ratings. And we agree that we need to find sustainable solutions to the high races by many countries. Debt treatment through the common framework needs to be accelerated. All creditors and all lenders should act transparently, and concessional financing be made available. The multilateral development banks have mobilized billions already through reforms. But reforms need to deepen to move from billions to trillions. Looking forward towards the Financing for Development conference in Spain next year, the COP29 and beyond, reform tracks must be made tangible. Solutions should be developed not just for the future, but also for the present. So I wish to take this opportunity to praise Barbados for suggesting concrete actions to help fix some of the more systematic errors of the international financial architecture. We are happy to support the Bridgetown Initiative, and we are proud to work alongside Barbados on greening international financing. We encourage others, including the UN and the international financial institutions, to work together, to be bold, and to achieve the necessary progress on the reform of the international financial architecture. Mr. President, while we reform for a more just financial picture, we need to sustain levels of development assistance to the poorest countries. So therefore, commitments made should be honored. Denmark remains a member of a club that is absolutely far too exclusive. The club of countries that meet the UN targets of providing 0.7% of our gross national income for official development assistance. It is a good club, but we have too few members, so we invite others to join.
Hey, now check this out. That's so interesting because, I live in Denmark. I pay the same taxes as people in places like New York City, Washington, D.C., California, Chicago, Atlanta, except what are the benefits? What are the civil rights you get in return? Universal health care, paid education, 5 weeks leave from work every year, a leave free from work to split for each family every time you have a child, things like this, right? And more things, housing insurance, etc. And they still have money left. They still have money left for initiatives like this, economic initiatives globally. You see what I mean? They still had money. Denmark still had invested. Right now, there's something like 70%. Most of the electric lines are underground. The heavy and mid-level, the ones that provide electricity to businesses and housing across the country. How they do that with all that with this money? Denmark's a small country. How did they manage that? And it's one of the better economies in Europe while they're doing it. You see, it's beat all the arguments about we don't want my tax dollars going to healthcare and I don't want to do this. No, actually, it's the opposite. It's boosting your GDP when you're keeping money in your country through taking care of your citizens. The United States should try it. The United States should try it, actually. They should try giving their citizens paid leave, 5 weeks vacation, everybody. They should try every time you have a child, a year off from your job, each family parent. If you have two parents, you split that 6 months. They should try it. They should try paying people to go to school, young people to get educated, to get a trade, to go to university, instead of charging them, and see what that does to the GDP. They should try it, but you do have people like Trump and others supporting him. They can't even fucking sign a bill to pay for fucking hurricane reform. And yet this little country here is doing all of this shit for its citizens and already buried their lines in the last, 10 years since the Green Initiative began? What's up, y'all? Hurricane coming next year to the same places. What you gonna do? Let's hope that Biden's infrastructure money is accepted by governors in those Republican states where those hurricanes hit, so they can bury some of those lines, so at least you can have electricity during a hurricane, and it's not doesn't take weeks and weeks and weeks to get the electricity back up. You see what I mean? Let's hope they shore up those riverbanks. Something they've been talking about for 20 years. You know what I'm saying? Let's hope they could do that. You know, the United States, all its problems are politically induced through infighting, and they got more money than anybody to pay for everything. And you can do it without even dealing with the immigrants first. You can take care of Americans first, deal with the immigrant issue after you take care of Americans, not the other way around like Donald Trump is suggesting to everybody in the richest country on earth. You see, listen to this guy. This guy's from one of the smallest countries on earth, but yet he's saying some things here.
In April this year, African heads of state met in Nairobi to call for an ambitious
Ralph, you there?
replenishment of.
Hold on, man. I don't even know how to open the back chat. Let me see. Where how do I do that? I don't know how to. Let me see something here. Let me try to figure it out. Hold on. I'm going to let this play.
The World Bank's International Development Association's IDA. And we have decided to respond to that call. Denmark intends to increase our contribution to IDA with 40%. For the IDA 21 replenishment, we will contribute with $479 million. And we encourage all, whether it's current or new donors, whether they are big and small, to reach an ambitious replenishment. Mr. President, in June this year, Denmark was proudly elected to the UN Security Council for the term 25-26. I was personally present and voting here in this grand hall that day, and I wish to thank you for the strong show of confidence and support. It will be an honor to serve our Council. As we look forward to our membership, I cannot help but wish that the Council were in better shape, more effective, more transparent, and above all, more inclusive and representative.
Ralph, you there?
The world needs a Security Council that reflects the world of today, that is able to respond to the security concerns of people all around the globe. To Denmark, it is evident that this calls for an expansion of the Council. We wish to see both more permanent and more elected members. And we wish to limit the use of the veto. Both aspects are long overdue.
All right, let me stop that. You hear his proposal? He want to stop the use of the veto. All right, it got me muted. Oh, okay, let me see something. I don't know why you muted, bro. It's also your camera. You there? Oh, hold on. Oh, that's how you do it. Ralph, you there?
Yeah, can you hear me? Can you hear me now?
Okay, my fault. Yeah, it's just yeah, I can hear you. What's up, bro?
It's good. I heard you said
man,
you was trying something new with that.
Yeah,
I heard you say you was trying something new with the new situation.
Yeah, but now I see. I just gotta like press on it. I didn't realize that. But what's up, bro? So what you think about this, man? What's up? How's everything going in Virginia and VA?
It's going well, man. Doing well.
No hurry.
Can I be? Am I clear? Am I loud enough?
Yeah. You loud enough. The audio's good.
Okay. So with this subject here, I wanted to touch on everything going well. And thanks for asking. How about you yourself?
Yeah, actually, for people that don't know, we didn't get hit by the hurricane, but we felt the weather shift. It got cold here just some day after y'all got hit with that hurricane. Whatever that is came across here, what was left of it, and it was just cold, man. So that's why if y'all saw me wearing my winter jacket for a second, the temperature dropped over here from that hurricane. Yeah,
Yeah, I've
yeah,
seen some of the things you posted with your kids and stuff like that. So I was,
yeah,
but
yeah.
what I
Indeed,
thought
bro.
about with this, it's kind of like what you said, uh, how America is not the only one funding. I know that
Yeah,
everybody buys weapons. Now, they might not be, I think Israel and those like those like that, those African countries and things like that. Usually none of those people have bombs. They just don't have that. They don't,
yeah.
I guess,
There's no bombs going on,
participate in
bro.
buying that type of stuff. You never really hear about Africa or countries in Africa wants to drop bombs on other people. It's more of a ground war.
Yeah,
Um, but the bigger countries around the United Nations and people like America, Mexico, South America, things like that, they really do fund countries like Israel, Palestine, Kuwait. They give those things, and China as well. China's a part of it. Russia's a part of it. Everybody has a part in paying for nuclear bombs. And I think he said something about the ICC and the way the government needs to be changed and
I
with
mean, yeah, because look, if I'm correct, it's from time to time the ICC. At first, I think the first time I really started following the ICC was when Albania and Eastern Europe was in war. Eastern Europe has been in war before, and who was funding it? You might want to look it up, but actually, a lot of the same actors today funding wars in that region. They're funding wars, and then you have different sides. You have NATO of helping the other sides, and they try to come to some agreements. But that was a genocide over there that split up the Eastern Europe. I mean, a bad one. It was internationally covered for years. I mean, they were literally putting people and lining people up, 50, 100 people at a time and just shooting them into mass graves. Like that was regular at that
yeah,
time,
I
like
remember
20 years
seeing
ago.
that they used to post those type of things on what's that little website, like World Star Hip Hop.
I think it's like a million people died in Eastern Europe at that time
Yeah,
during that war. Something roughly. I hate to say data when I don't have it in front of me, but there's a lot of people.
it's okay. I'm pretty sure we all could go back and research and try to pull up what we talk about, for our
Yeah.
points, our premises. But I'm also with the ICC and changing its government's laws and how it locks people up or how it carry its country. We have another thing in our country. It's the CCA, and the CCA is the criminal, like the prison systems that were usually ran by states. Ran by federal, but we had a president. I'm gonna say his name, Biden. He's trying to change some of those situations with that. But excuse me, the CCA makes a lot of money off of locking people up by state. Now it's powerful, more powerful now by the state, but it was used by federal, and they actually charge criminals and take that money and use it for investment in other countries to buy like military and like far as to sell weapons, bombs, and things like that. And that's our prison system here, and it's the way they running it. I guess the guy said it's information he really can't
What
act.
you call it? What you call that?
The CCA,
The CCA.
yes. So
Okay.
what they have to do now, so the CCA, like in America, do is your state has to lock up a certain amount of race or a certain amount of people in that area to fund the criminal system, so the criminal system can fund the state, and then the state puts that money back into the politicians and things like that. And then what they do is they make policies and send that money overseas.
I mean, you sure about that, or have you heard somebody just say that? I'm not saying it's wrong now, but I'm not saying that's incorrect. Oh, damn, where Ralph go? I'm just saying, um, I like to. Damn, where you go, Ralph? Hold on, yeah, Ralph just cut off. Because let's just say a lot of times people say things or hear things that they don't actually, maybe somebody has described it to them. Ralph, you there? Hold on. What is? I see. Oh, here it is. I see what it is. You there now?
Yeah, I'm back. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Now I was saying, you sure about this with the CCA? You sure? Or I mean, have you verified that yourself, or has it been said somewhere? Where'd you get that news from about the CCA?
From people who get locked up, you know,
Okay.
like how they
Okay.
it's basically how, you know what I'm saying, they charge you taxes to be locked up, they charge you taxes to work in prison, and also they tax you up to 40% more than the average citizen working. Not only do they tax you more than other average, they charge you, like you were saying, in Denmark, they charge you like California prices, New York, Atlanta, they tax you at the highest extent. Now, other countries, they don't have that type of um connections with their prisoners. So they don't make a lot of money off imprisoning people, so they kill them.
Mm-hmm.
So when it comes to like the Iraq, Kuwait, Israel with the mass shootings, they don't have enough to support and fund those people locked up in prison. So they have military kill them. So America would choose to make money off of their prisoners. You know, it's one of the largest uh corporations in the world. The prison system, they make more money than a lot of people. You know what I'm saying? The bigger
Mm-hmm.
corporations in the world.
Yeah, but I get you. I'm saying, somebody told you that's how they're using the funding. That Let me just make sure I understand what you're saying. You're saying now the CCA has been around since what, 2016 or before that? It's really been around
Yeah.
before that, right? So, and you're saying under a specific administration they have done this? You there, Ralph? Oh, Ralph having internet issues. Yeah. But yeah, we just wait for Ralph to hop back up if he can get the link. Um, yeah, but in any case, I wouldn't put anything past. Oh, Ralph, you back? You
Yeah, this the
there? Yeah.
same one that used to kick me off somebody else's stream. This one always does this to my phone. But I hear you.
Oh, Restream. Yeah, I
Yeah.
don't know about Restream. It's the first time I used it today, man. You know, but yeah, it does seem like the streaming is a little funny though, because it's slowing down some things for me over here on my end also. But let me ask you, Ralph, this thing about funding, right? Using CCA money or taxes or something like that, and funding some other activity. Did you say that they fund activity outside of the U.S. or
Yes,
you
yes.
saying
They
through
funded
you just saying through taxes that they collect?
right, do the money that they collect.
I
Also,
see.
like so it
That's
works so like
everybody's taxes. Everybody's tax
yeah,
money.
everybody taxes who has to pay for the locking up of prisoners, and prisoners have to pay to lock up for themselves. So
No,
they
but
get
what I'm
go ahead.
saying is that taxes, American taxes in general, right?
Yeah,
Is it
yes.
only? Yeah, that's what I wanted to make sure of. Okay, 'cause
Yeah.
that's all. Go ahead. And
So
CPA is part of it. Prisoners pay into that too, is what you're
yeah,
saying. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. Got you.
So Trump did not Trump, Biden did something. I don't want to say it incorrectly. So I know Biden did something where he tried to fix his corrections, mistakes for the past, the laws he the systems where he did something good about Biden. He did something where he's letting them not make money federally off of it anymore.
Mm,
But state
okay. Oh, state-wise, they still doing it. You there? Okay, Ralph. Yeah, Ralph having some issue with the stream. Yeah. I don't know much about what they're doing with the CCA money, criminal justice systems money, but hold on, let me make sure I say that right. That is Community Choice Aggregate. Hold on. Corrections Corporation of America, CCA. Um, I'm not sure. Let me see. Does the CCA in the USA uh, tax prisoners, or does it tax the goods sold after? Let me just see here. I don't know anything about the CCA, so I just gotta look this up a little bit while wait for Rob. Oh, here we go. Okay, go
back,
ahead,
I'm back.
Rob. You back? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So your state, your politicians and your state laws, they will have how many immigrants can come over, going through how much your state, like say out of New York State prisons, Jersey State prisons, California State prisons, um, they usually have the largest uh immigrants, but it's more populated with blacks. But they allow more immigrants to come to those type of states, so they don't have to
Mhm.
worry about being prosecuted and locked up. But it's the
Mhm.
policies that they have that are like from other countries. Now, forgive me, I can't give you those policies right now. It's been a little minute I talked about, but we can always kind of find it out. You know what I mean? I just
Yeah,
wanted to
or even find out if the shit is accurate, Ralph. Because I mean, the thing is that like I'm not saying this is correct, but I just looked this up, and it says here that under the CCA, it's the goods that are taxed. It's not the prisoners. It's the goods that
prisons
are
are
sold.
yeah, so look, not only is it the goods that are sold, it's you working. You working, man, you are good there. You are a product there. So you're a prisoner. You have to pay to be locked up. You see what I'm saying? You don't just be locked up, and you have to actually pay to be locked up. Then there's another thing they have to be paid to be fed. Not only you have to be paid to be fed, they have to have food funding for you to buy your food. You have to pay for phone calls. All those things are taxed. Living and boarding, you even have to pay to be
Right,
killed in
right.
prison.
I hear you. I hear you. But the
But they
prisoners
look at those
are
as
taxed
good.
for their labor. Not that
Yes.
they get paid shit, but
Yeah.
just to be clear, the prisoners aren't taxed. It's the goods they're making, right? And the
No,
pay,
the prisoners,
everybody
no,
else
prisoners are taxed. They are taxed. Because prisoners are taxed.
in the state or in the
Yeah.
federal system.
They just Biden just did that so where the federal system doesn't get any money as well. I ain't gonna say any money. They don't get what they used to get. It used to be major with federal prisons, but it's now with the states now. States do it, such as like Louise, like the Bible states, the Bible Belt states.
Okay, yeah, I feel you. Yeah, it's the okay. So it's you talking about on the state level.
Hmm.
Okay, okay, yeah. It's damn man, yo. Hold on, wait a second. Let me see something here. It says here, it says something about this here. Hold on, let me go down. Damn, I went by. It says, Corrections Corporation of America tax prisoners. It does not tax prisoners. However, private prison companies like Core Civic can profit in various ways related to prisoner labor and services provided to inmates. Key aspects related to financial practices involving prisoners. Prisoner labor. Inmates can be required or incentivized to work, often for very low wages, and their labor can be used to produce goods or provide services. Private prisons may benefit financially from inmate labor as they contract with government agencies or private companies. While inmates earn wages, the amount is significantly lower. And some cases, portions of the wages are deducted for restitution or other fees. Taxation on goods. Wait a minute. Commissary and service. Private prisons companies can profit from selling goods like foods, hygiene products, and phone services through commissaries. While these goods are sold to prisoners or their families, they often come with high markups. Core civic or similar companies, typical partners, and third-party vendors to offer these services and take a percentage. Taxation on goods. Okay, well, let me cut to the last part. While, well, let me read this. Taxation on goods produced. In some cases, goods are produced by prison labor to be sold on the open market. These goods might be subject to standard taxation, but the prisoners themselves are not taxed for their labor in the way regular employees outside of the prisons are. Instead, the profits from these sales generally benefit the prison contractors or government agencies they work with. While the prisoners aren't directly taxed, private prison companies can extract profits from their labor and the sale of goods and services within the prison system. This business model has been heavily criticized by advocates for prison reform, who argue. I mean, do you mean tax like in the normal sense that everybody else is getting taxed, or you just mean like it's something else they have to pay, some fee being taken out? Because obviously it says there's fees being taken out, and I could see how loosely people might call it a tax, but it may not be exactly the same what everybody calls taxing. It may not even be called a tax legally. But in any case, you there again, Ralph? Damn. Okay, you keep popping
Yeah,
up.
I'm here.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm here.
Mhm.
So okay, so it
But what?
says that, right? It
Yeah.
says that, but also, like I said, it's private and it has multiple funds. They don't give you all the ways of funding, though, right? But people who are locked up, you understand, who has a job, you actually can file. I think they can file taxes or have to wait out. It's something they file. They have to file because they are taxed like citizens, but
Mm,
more.
mm.
So I'm saying with the ICC, that's their way of population control. Like that's the ACC way of population control. Now it has outside what do you call it? The people who venture in with the prison systems, like a partnership, outside partnerships with that from other countries who use those ways of method to make money in America. They're getting paid overseas to lock us up that way, and they have a ratio to how many it actually funds the police system. So the ACC actually does fund the police system to actually lock up a certain amount of people per year, and they distribute the money
Hold on,
coast.
hold on. Are you just trying to say that some of these companies are investing in other stuff outside the U.S.?
I'm trying to say they're investing into those guns, those bombs, those high
Okay,
tech.
because
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
what
that's what
that's
I'm
what
going
I'm
with.
trying to
That's
understand.
where we're going with this. Yeah,
Okay, because what you saying sounds different than what I just said. That's why I'm trying to make sure that it's like, because a private corporation, yeah, private
they can put
corporations,
their money anywhere.
facts. There it is, right there. So, but that's not the government. Now, the government can regulate it. The government can
Mhm.
regulate it, but we know that's Congress.
Yeah,
That's the
yeah,
Senate.
yeah.
So, if the
That's
congressional
right. That's
members
right.
don't
So
want to
what
move on it,
also,
and how many congressional members are there from both parties? You see? Oh, hold on. Damn, Ralph hopped back out. So, I mean, I don't think you're going to get any law in the U.S. You're not going to get any law that, especially right now, or especially in the last 10, 15 years, that Republicans and Democrats don't sign on to. Pretty much. I mean, you get a few out of there, but usually Democrats are criticized for not getting these laws passed through Congress. I mean, if they get one, it's like by one vote, you know. Um, Even that law that Biden passed, the prison thing, the lock them up law, the law about when Hillary spoke and they said, about the crack in the crack era, when they was saying there, I forget what the term is she used to describe people and the killing and things like that going on. I forget the words, but that was
and
support.
I think it was the animals.
Yeah, it's something like that. But that was Republicans supported that.
Yeah, yeah, it
Yeah,
was
that
a
was
it was a
unilateral.
look, that's what I'm saying. It works in both hands because it's a Democratic policy, but it's a Republican funded. Now, the wildest thing about this is
Republican
that
funded. What you talking about? Republican funded?
you so like what I mean,
They voted on it.
richer. I'm talking about like yeah, richer. They working together like the richer people who have a certain amount of money. I shouldn't call them Republicans. I just say people in power
People
with a lot
that's
of
in
money.
prison. Yeah, private
Yeah,
prison.
yeah,
That's
they
that's a lot of times is Republicans. I know what you
yeah,
mean. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, I didn't want to sound
I just
racist
want to
like
be accurate. So
that,
yeah,
discriminative.
yeah.
So, but also what it goes to say, what it goes.
You still there, Ralph?
I was about to kick me off. I see this shit acting crazy.
Super predator. Right. Super predator was the term. Okay. Yeah. Exactly. You still there, Ralph? Okay. Well, you know, I want to get back to what this dude was saying, like the principle. I mean, I know it's not it's maybe a lot of people aren't into the UN and don't see the UN as having a purpose and blah blah blah. But screw that. What do you think about the man's words? Did his words make any sense? Um, should he? Is it? Do you think that African Ralph? You there? Hold on for a second. There's okay. Hold on. Okay, Ralph, you got two things up here. Let me cut one off. Okay, and let me put the other on. There you go. But Ralph, how can you tie that into what he's saying?
When I think if you take it back a little bit, he said something about those are things he can't disclose about his I guess he what do you call it, the clubs. He could said it was club groups. Basically, those are organizations that they
Oh,
can't really say the names of
oh
who
no,
have.
no. I think he was saying no, no, no. I think what he was saying is that all the member states don't fund it like they agree to. They don't have it's again it goes back to how the UN works. The UN have non-binding laws also, non-binding agreements. I'm sorry. And the like even in NATO, they have an agreement about how much you're supposed to fund out of your GDP and blah blah blah. And some states hadn't met that criteria, but it's due to a lot of things. And then sometimes they catch up and make up for the losses later and things like that. But it's not an exact thing where you get punitive damages. And the non-binding agreements also on the UN level, they're even more flexible, meaning like you could sign on to something in general in principle and not actually ratify it, meaning put it into your national law yet to where there's something being done about it. Like if it's not put into a national law, then it doesn't get, nothing gets processed, even though in in theory you support the idea, or in good faith you support the idea. So when he's saying a small club, he's saying that they're one of the nations that agreed to it and have been funding it versus the nations that agreed to it and haven't yet been active in funding it. He doesn't mean like a secret club like the Masons and you know. So I mean, but it is his language that he's using, and yeah, what can you say? But that's how I took his comments. And that's why I made my comment. Denmark's funding it. You know, they're actually doing what they agreed to. At the same time, their national law, what goes on inside of the country, 5 weeks paid vacation. No, I'm sorry, paid vacation for technical schools, universities, 5 week vacation everybody has from work every year. It doesn't matter who you are, even if you're on welfare. You get 5 weeks vacation from welfare. If that doesn't mean anything, but then you get a year off. Everybody, when you have a child, a family gets a year off from work. That's paid for by the tax dollars. And even that funding, you see, to help other economic institutions that are supporting development in other countries, Denmark's doing its part, paying into that. And he's saying, but everybody who agreed to is not doing it. So, and I think what becomes complex is that all the nations don't have the same principles about what they want to fund, what a bad actor is versus a good actor state, how to approach certain deficiencies globally in communities, right? Um, and so, as you see, Denmark, if they fund things, they would probably want your local government to understand its own local way of governing inside its own country. Hence, voting. Hence, uh, support for families. These kind of things. Hold on, I heard something here. Let me see. Okay, you back up here, Ralph. Okay, hold on. Here we go. Yeah, Ralph. I think you might have misunderstood his comment there about the small club. Yeah, I can hear you. I can hear you.
That's, I don't think I'm saying like you saying Denmark is a part of it. just decide microwave is way better.
Break.
Under
Damn, you breaking up. Yeah, you breaking up a little bit. Is that on your side? Yeah, I think it is. I can see. Can you hear me?
you, but it's showing that on this thing, it's like I'm in in my house and I have great Wi-Fi, and I wonder why it's doing. It's kicking me off every chance, and it does
Yeah,
this on another person's channel that use this too. It's just always on this restream.
yeah, man. I might have to do
So
something else. Go ahead.
so so
I can hear you.
okay. So what I'm saying is like, let me take it back. So I'm saying like Denmark
Mhm.
makes more money than probably
This is crazy, man. Go ahead. You back?
under the UN. Denmark has a treaty, so it will have to hold the respect to the UN. So the UN was like, yo, y'all pay this, they pay this, and other countries can't. They look like you're in debt. So because of your debt, this is what they'll probably do: war, raise war, say, we'll take over this country, this your country, and we'll civilize it or domesticate it or reconstruct it to our liking because you can't support your country.
I
That's what I'm
mean,
saying.
okay, but I'm not so sure that's what's going on, man. I just think some countries don't ratify the agreement. Like, they agree to it in principle because it's non-binding. So non-binding means your leaders at that time, they realize this is a good idea. They agree to do it, but it takes time to process that into law in your own country. And why does it take time? Because, for example, you have to go to your Congress in the US to ratify it into your national law. You see what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
you have different ones like the one about this is how I know about it. The one about racism is non-binding. The one about the what is it? Um it's called Sir 34 regarding anti-black racism. It's non-binding, meaning it's up to states to decide how they're going to implement it, and a lot of states haven't implemented it. To be honest with you, some states have implemented parts of it and some haven't. You see, so and ratify means they might have 100 different things in the agreement they want states to look into, and a state might not look into any of them. Like, for example, Russia probably hasn't ratified anything of Sir 34. Denmark hasn't ratified, I don't believe they ratified anything yet. They might they might have only they may ratify it, but I know 2 years ago they hadn't ratified one thing about Sir 34, which means on the ground there's no money being spent for certain initiatives like knowing how many people of African descent or black people live in the country. No data on it whatsoever. Zero data. You see, yeah,
So,
it has.
so like,
Yeah,
so can I ask you this? Yeah, I think I really don't know nothing about that, but I think with
you see
so
what I
like
mean?
say, yeah, I see what you mean. Yeah, so like on a ground war type thing. Basically, if we noticed when we had the war in Kuwait or Afghanistan, a lot of uh the gun industry made a lot of money off of foreign guns here in
War.
America. Yeah,
Oh,
but they America gave funding for war guns and things like that. But then again, them making guns and things like that also come back to America. They send them their AKs, their Soviet guns, or the things that they make in their country for us. So it's like you can't really say who's all not funding, who's all not helping. It's like who's getting bullied the most to do it.
who's getting bullied the most to do it? To provide
Yeah.
weapons or not provide weapons?
To provide and not provide. Like they'll be like, hey, look, you can't have certain type of weapons here because it'll mess up, the ecosystem. You have to have a
Oh,
ground war here.
oh, I see what you mean. Oh, you know what? It's simple because I think, you know, there are some, yeah, it's a good thing you pointing out though, by the way. There are some discrepancies. Let's just put it to you this way. In the Middle East where there's desert, um, there's resources that is coming out of there. Most of the resources is oil. That's most of it. I mean, we could look it up, but that's mostly what people get now is desert. So if you drop an atom bomb, not saying this is a good idea, because you're still going to poison the water. That's what happened in the Iraq war, or the war
You want
inside
to
of
poison
Iraq.
the oil. You can't
Right. Now
sell
the
oil.
earth,
You can't sell aluminum.
right. But if you're going to a place where you're dependent for agricultural products, you're not going to be, you know, a place that produces a lot of agriculture. I see Ralph just popped. Damn, he popped out again. But a place that produces a lot of agriculture, I can pretty much guarantee you that you're going to be seen as a very bad actor if you start selling weapons that's poisoning water and food production, um, especially from nations that are depending on the exports of some of those agricultural products like Africa produces. For example, like in Ukraine, for example, um, one of the products is people found out is cooking oil. Hold on. Okay, I see Ralph is back up. Yeah, cooking oil, but I see. But Ralph, I don't think that I don't know what's going on. You raising a good point. About that, some of the discrepancies between what kind of weapons is being used. Um, but I think there's a whole lot of cooperation there, you know, with these different countries about where the line is, what you're going to do, even when you enter into a war. You know, let's take Ukraine for example. As much as NATO is at war and Russia is at war with NATO, right, inside of Ukraine, or they say they're at war with Ukraine, as much as they're at war with Ukraine, there's back channels agreements. You see what I mean? And there's a red line in that too. Certain things you do will cause this effect, definitely. And so, they already established the playground, you could say. And and it's others outside. It's not Ukraine establishing the playground. It's the superpowers. It's like Russia and NATO establishing the playground. What is the playground? What is the war going to look like? What are the rules to this? And what's the point going to be where if you do this, this, and this is too far, and so there's going to be a reaction to that. And I think they do it like that across the world. In the Middle East, they've decided that you can drop these kind of bombs because maybe they don't need products, certain kind of products from there. They need the oil. That's what they
That's
want.
right.
People want the oil. They don't want the agriculture. They don't want the water. You go to Africa, it's getting more sensitive with the agriculture. You're messing up the global market. There will be effects. And I think that's what's going on. Nobody's going to want you to use that.
Like
Everybody's going to be
it
affected.
it'd be like what's that Chernobyl? So
Yes,
like
that already
so
happened.
yeah,
You know,
and see now they saying Chernobyl has a flourishing agricultural things is getting back to animals are populating as faster, stronger, they're looking different now, things like that. So when it comes like that's why I'm saying like with
you know
foreign
what it is,
countries,
Ralph? I'm just going to give you an example. In Africa, even though the U.S. may not be supplying rebels, they may not. The U.S. is not even a lot of times not even interested anymore in Africa this way with weapons. But other people are funding these rebels, and the U.S. will sit back and be like, "Okay, they have the right to fight over something if they want to fight over it." But the moment you start messing up their investment, they might enter the picture, and nobody want that. So they agree, okay, we're going to have this war like this, and this, but at the same time, we don't want to do something that invites somebody else in the picture. And all the sides get it. They'd be like,
yeah,
okay,
I agree. I
let's have
agree.
it go
And
this way.
they have to hold a certain amount of like China, Russia, United States,
Exactly.
and probably some parts of South Africa cannot be touched to uh, to
Certain
accumulate a certain
assets you ain't gonna,
population.
yes,
Yeah. So to
you know,
accumulate a population, it's population control, it's funding control, and is easier to give people um certain types of health care, financial care, working care when it's really a third party. So it's like, hey, we'll take care of your people, but when it goes down, own your people. So we'll try to adjust accommodation that destroy the accommodation, long as you're an ally.
Damn, you just broke up, bro. That last part I didn't hear, man. I'm sorry. Sorry about that. Daggone, I don't know what it is. Matter of fact, let me turn the screen off and then but also let me drop the link here. Anybody else want to hop up? Tomorrow I'm gonna research a little more of this stream, uh restream, and see what it do. Maybe there's something I can use to tweak it. Because I don't think it's my internet. My internet seems to be working pretty good right now, but maybe it's some kind of, I don't know what it is, things with mobile phones. But in any case, anybody want to hop up? There you have it. You feel free to hop up. Um, I'm sure Ralph is going to hop back up. But this thing about, okay, yeah, maybe it's the internet for a second or something. I don't know, man. Or maybe it's the weather. I don't know what the weather's like, bro. Sometimes the weather is messing the internet up. Even though, I'm supposed to be on fiber optic lines, I think part of it is still, one portion of it is still going to, the air somehow, some antennas partly. So not from my house, but somewhere else, through the lines, But in any case, yeah, so we heard from this guy. Me and myself, my overall thing, and I'm not trying to discourage anybody, but again, I think most of what any country does is advocate for something that they want through their own policy. So Denmark has a particular way of seeing these events, although they didn't go against something that the United States has proposed, like the two-state solution. They support it. Denmark signed on to that. A lot of countries signed on to the two-state solution. The two-state solution was is that Palestine would be a full functioning state, and so would Israel. It turns out that Palestine is not a full functioning state. It barely can function as a state. If anything, it has people trapped in it, and people have been calling it an apartheid because it's not functioning as a state. Um, and Israel has been functioning, right, as a state, providing water, housing, jobs. It has a standing military, all of these things. And so I guess ultimately with the two-state solution, the question, oh, Ralph is back up. The question is, what's the realistic? Can that really work? Is anybody really trying to let the two-state solution happen, or is it just a way to keep prolonging something from going on? I don't know if you still there, Ralph.
I believe it's a policy. I believe it's a policy that's already been in place for years since Israel and Palestine been going to war. Just now placed placed in different what do you call it? Like it is placed in different authorities of who's going to govern who, who's going to govern who together. You know,
Yeah.
it's not. It hasn't said, we haven't heard or seen anything where other countries will want to ally themselves in unity together with Israel. It's always been Israel saying we need more help from here, we need more help from there. It crying out to everyone. So it shows that it can't sustain itself.
Okay. Yeah.
So it's
I
so
mean,
it,
they
so
can't
it's going to
sustain this
force.
war.
So, yeah, so yeah, they can't sustain the war. They can't sustain their country. They can't protect their people. So, what country are they now going to bind it with? So they now it can be a two-state, but really a one whole now.
Yeah, it's the alternative thing is people saying that okay, the country should be called Israel, and they just have equal rights, right to religion, right to all of these things. But there's a lot of people that don't want that. But yeah, there's many people that also don't want that. It's for me overall, man. Like I started it off with this conversation. My thoughts are for people that's want to be different from Israel and Palestine, or want to be different from what's going on in Sudan. If you want to have, if you want to be reasonable, you can't sustain wars. You can't come up as a country and be at war with your neighbor. Being at war with your neighbor is not advisable at all. It's one of the ways, especially when you don't make weapons, it's one of the quickest ways to send your country backwards and your people backwards, because it just makes no sense at all. Why would you use weapons you don't make to
And
fight your
why would they also name clubs that cannot be identified? So it's like we can't have a full story, but we have to know pieces of what's been identified to us or told to us. So if we don't have a full narrative of what's going on with their policies and their government, and their, well, I don't know if they have their type of Congress that they have, but if we don't know the full parts of their treaties or what they have to do, then we can't really say we should be mad at the war or the funding, but we cannot like that. We definitely cannot like that, but we don't have a
Yeah, the two-state
like.
solution, the two-state treaty, it was a treaty. It was an agreement. It's an international agreement. It's actually binding. Let me see something here. Hold on. Go ahead. Is that what you're talking about?
Yes,
Is the
yes.
two-state solution between Israel and Palestine?
You know what I'm saying? I don't know much, y'all. I know certain things with the way networking works with certain countries. I've been told, so
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and some things that
Oh,
a lot of things I done research.
okay. It's not binding. It's a resolution. Hold on. Wait a second. I'm speaking too fast. Let me just do that. I don't know. Can you? You know what I'm gonna do? Before I get off this topic, I didn't even want to even talk about this one. But before I get off of it, let me do something here and just play this back so folks can hear it themselves. That way, they don't have to rely on me. Let me know if
The
you can hear it.
two-state solution between Israel and Palestine refers to the proposed framework for resolving the Israeli-Palestinian conflict by establishing two sovereign states, Israel and Palestine. While it is widely discussed and supported by many international actors, it is not legally binding at this point. Why the two-state solution is not binding? 1. Lack of a formal agreement. Although the two-state solution has been the basis of peace talks, including those led by the United Nations, the United States, and other international actors, no binding treaty or formal legal agreement has been reached between Israel and the Palestinian leadership that establishes it as a final, enforceable solution. 2.
See what I'm saying?
Political disagreement.
Mm-hmm.
The governments of Israel and the Palestinian Authority, along with various factions within both groups, have significant disagreements over key issues such as borders, the status of Jerusalem, Israeli settlements, Palestinian refugees, and security arrangements. These disagreements have prevented a formal, binding resolution from being finalized. 3. International support. The two-state solution is supported by many nations and international bodies, including the United Nations, European Union, and United States, but without a negotiated and mutually accepted agreement between Israel and Palestine. The solution remains a proposal rather than a binding legal framework. 4.
So
UN resolutions. While the United Nations has passed several resolutions supporting the idea of two states, such resolutions are non-binding unless both parties agree to the terms and reach a formal, enforceable treaty. Conclusion.
Yeah, so it's just a pathway, and I guess it's the occupied territory, and yeah, that's become an issue, man, over this. Yeah, you still there, Ralph? Hold on, let me see something. Oh, okay, you fell out again. Yeah, so you heard it, right? So it's non-binding. It's non-binding, the agreement. You there, Ralph? And it's non-binding because of several issues, like where the border is going to be. You know, it's non-binding, so they don't even have an agreement yet. They have a proposal, and because they don't agree on certain specifics, it's just getting out of hand. It's just
and
continuing.
they talk to us. They talk to us, V. Bennett, like they are like the news. They tell us, "Oh, where's the treaty? It's been put in place, but it's no
No, no, no,
real."
no, Ralph. No, no, no. They don't, man. You can't blame them. They're not saying it's binding. It's me. I wasn't clear about is it binding or
No,
not.
I'm not talking about you though. I'm talking about what I understand from the news. When I hear the news talk about,
Oh, okay. Wait a minute. What's up, Donnie? Yeah, man. Yeah, Ralph is having issues today. Yo, here's the link to hop up. Anybody want to hop up? Just go ahead and hop up. Let me see. Go ahead, Ralph.
yeah,
Ralph, go ahead.
so yeah, I'm saying the news, they make reports on the status of the country.
Hmm.
They don't fully they don't fully inquire how the treaties are misled and not being upheld. Um
No,
these you
they're reporting it. You don't think they're reporting it?
they do some reporting. It's not
Occupied.
like it's
I think what they call it is one of the things I think when they describe it is that people hear often is, and I just forgot it myself, is the occupied territory. That's the problem for the Palestinians.
yeah.
Israelis is the security issue. I think they all don't agree on the occupied territory. They don't agree where the border is. It's basically the same thing that this
Well,
issue is
it's
happening.
the sovereignty about it.
Huh?
It's the sovereignty about it, right? So the sovereignty is they can't be taxed and looked at a certain type of way because of their union connection with their sovereignty. So they have to make unions and treaties with people because uh they're not bounded to certain they are bounded to certain restrictions of other governments. So they have to remain how you say they have to be their own, but they have to be their own kind of people, their own type of country, but they have to servitude to every country. So it's never going to be fulfilled. The treaty can't be fulfilled if you're still looking at it. It's like a slavery. You're in debt. You can't afford to get your way out of debt. We own you. This is why we're going to do this. Um,
Who you talking about?
that's how it usually work when a country's too broke. Somebody like you'll hear like Donald Trump saying,
I
and
mean,
they're going to take over
I'm
America. They're
talking
going to own America, and then they can go ahead.
what did that get to do with Israel and Palestine?
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's why the UN or certain.
Oh, now he's breaking up again, man. Anyway, all right. So look, let me see here, Donnie. They should only report and leave out biases. Yeah, man. I mean, and this is what I was saying. I mean, overall, I know it sounds kind of easy to say and all of this stuff, but in my mind, it is completely irrational for anyone to take up a war with their neighbor when you don't make any weapons. And it's also irrational to do the same the other way around. Yeah, it keeps falling out, Ralph. Um, it's also irrational to do the same, and I think that's overall, I think it's the thinking, like, let's be honest, man. I mean, well, for me, it's just my opinion. They just have bad actors on both sides. And who started it? That's also going to be another conversation. If you ask Israel who started it, they will say one story. If you ask Palestinians who started, they will say another. It's going to go to the UN. Then you have this suggestion pathway, the two-state solution, and then the fighting continues. It's like, I think what is in principle wrong is it's irrational to have a war with your own neighbor and you don't make weapons. That goes for any party. That goes for Israel and Palestine. If I don't know if Ralph was trying to say this exactly, but let's say, for example, Israel's fighting Palestine. Well, once they lose support, their main supporter, one being the U.S., maybe, or others, right? Then what's going to happen? My fault, Ralph. Come on back up. I just missed you. Um, if you run out of weapons or you run out of support, then what? I think maybe that's what Ralph was trying to say. Like, then the other country has you, you know. I mean, when you enter into a war and you don't make weapons, the people who provide the weapons essentially own you. And it's the same thing with Palestine. They don't make weapons. they're fighting Israelis. So they have a beef with Israelis, and a legitimate thing over occupation. Um, you know, but is war the solution? Because once there's a war going on, does that provide peace? Who does that help? Right now, I don't think it's helping Palestinians at all because Palestinians don't even have a state. They don't have a life inside of Palestine. And obviously, the goal would be to have a life in where you're from. That would be the goal. But can anybody say the actors supporting Palestine care if they live or die?
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying, V. Bennett. And that's why I brought up the ACC. Yes, the ACC helps funds in America, other countries, guns. They lock up enough prisoners so they can have money for our country. They run our states. They run our federal to a degree. They used to have more power with the federal, less power with the state. Now it's more power with the state, less with federal. If
The
your
ACC,
country can't support it,
what's that?
I mean the CCA. I'm sorry, the CCA.
Okay,
I'm sorry.
don't start flipping around because they.
Yeah, yeah. Um,
I see what
and
you
maybe
mean.
that's why I'm getting hit. Yeah,
It's
that's and so long as they're generating enough money, they can fund wars, they can fund our country, we can fight back. They'll even put more guns in our country and open up more gun laws so we can defend ourselves against terrorism, you know what I'm saying?
you're
Or immigrant
right,
crime. You know?
but the U.S. government's position on it is that they are going to fund several nations because they're getting something from it. So
Yeah.
whether we realize it or not, the main thing we get, and this is not only from Israel, like if this didn't have something to do with our trade and our security, the US would not be involved, period. They wouldn't
That's
be
what I'm
involved,
saying.
not like this, not with this type of investment. Like this investment, even though it looks like a lot, and it is a lot, it's connected to something that's even bigger that we get. You see what I
Yeah.
mean? Like we don't
And that's
give
that's why they put soldiers over there to dictate, you know what I'm saying, look how things is going on over there, how who's losing, who gonna take what of what. You know, it's not really American soldiers really
everybody.
fighting that war.
It's
Yeah.
everybody.
Everybody's over there.
Yeah, exactly. That's my opinion, though. It's just my opinion. But I know for sure the United States. I'm not talking about the other people. My opinion is that the other groups that are funding the other side are the same. They they're only there because there's something else outside of the Palestinians that they want. That's why they're there. Whatever they're doing it for, it's not the Palestinians. And in my view, the United States, we say that we support Israel. Yeah, we support Israel. They're supposedly a democracy. They vote. But if we were not getting something bigger than the investment we put in, somehow, some way, we wouldn't be doing it because obviously we can't afford to go around and give all this military aid to everybody just because they're a democracy, just because they say they're a democracy. We can't afford it. It have to be some core assets coming with it too, something, just something we want from them, you know. And in my view, it's got a lot to do with security. Like they same thing with Saudi Arabia. Although we get oil from Saudi Arabia, um, it's not just the oil. We benefit from us supporting them and them not being down with the Iranians. You know, same thing with you see what I mean? Like, and look at where the Red Sea Mediterranean connection,
Yeah.
all the trade goes through all the trade from Asia that is also from nations we support and do business with, including China, comes
This
right through
this
the
just
Red Sea
this is just
to
my
Mediterranean.
theory. This is my
Yeah.
theory. It's still the Atlantic slave trade funding. It's just people getting their money back. So I this is just my theory. I look at it as um how the European was the last to get into the American slave trade, the Atlantic slave trade. Basically now they're up. They're up one. Africans not getting that type of money. The Arabs is, fighting between it, and it's like everybody's still holding up from debts from back then. So now we want to have the country. It's still trying to be world domination within countries. That's
Oh,
what I'm
we
getting
came
from it.
up. The U.S. came up. The U.S. came up out of all these countries in America. that participated in the slave trade, but with the same people, the same agenda, right? The United
Mhm.
States just the United States, I guess they say after World War II, but slavery kept the United States alive. It funded the United States. It built the United States. Um, and then World War II essentially, allowed the United States to become a superpower. I mean, that's what they say technically, right? Ralph dropped out, but I'm sure he's gonna hop back up. But now these other countries don't like it. But I agree with this thing about, hey man, who participated in slavery in history? Who came to America? The colonies, and who came with them? Who were the people that came with them that followed this understanding under the Catholic Church? This idea about who a heathen is, who a human is, who's less than human, who can convert and who can't convert because of their race. It's a lot of people that participated in that, and yeah, and now today, look at what's happening to a lot of those people. Those people don't have the upper hand anymore. You know.
They don't. Along with the slavery and the prison system and the
Mm,
school system is
mm.
what funds everything. That's something that America cannot stop, will not stop. And if you look at other countries, China doesn't make money off their inmates. Their inmates are
Oh,
literally
oh no, no, no,
treated
no,
like crap.
no, no, no. They make money, bro. They got slave camps. They in
No,
there
I mean,
working.
Oh, hold on. Let me clarify this.
Yeah.
They don't have the same type of yeah, because they all prison systems make money, but the way they have conduct with their prisoners is different from U.S. The way they do their conduct with business, and also the way they I guess you could say like invest their money into their economy with their prisoners, unlike America.
Okay,
So
I'm not sure about China how they use the money, how it's operated. I know it's not privatized.
yeah, because Hitler even had a thing where he was working on with his inmates and military where he was turned them into uh different, like, the alphabet community. He would use them to start transgenders and try to use creating with different body parts and things like that. And that was his form of correction in his military for funding with MK Ultra. And other countries, they just use slave binding ways, just to keep their country sustainable with slave labor.
I mean, they slaved them too, man. They slaved the Jews. They had work camps. They slaved them until they died. The main difference is they slaved them until they died. They
Yeah,
worked them to death. The native, a lot of African Americans worked to death, bro. A lot worked to death. It wasn't always good across. At times natives worked to death. You know, um, it. I don't know if they're so different from each other, if it's just the same thing repeating.
it's,
Myself, it's just my
it's the
opinion.
same. It's the same thing repeating, just different. One person might be a little stricter, another person might be a little bit more lenient, but it's all in the same category.
It's the same type of behavior at the root. I think and yeah, it's unfortunate. But in any case, that's enough on this international news. What's up with the hurricane now? Let's flip over to the hurricane because that's what's happening in the United States, and that's a big that's right now. That's terrible. What's happening right now.
Yeah.
I mean, nobody wants to go through that type of hurricane, and they say that this is the worst hurricane than they've had in a long time, and they expect that they're just going to continue to get worse. And there's an issue with infrastructure. There's an issue with well, you tell me. Anybody can hop up. Let me know what you think about that FEMA situation going on, how the rescue operations are going. And okay, here's Ralph again. Hold on, let me see.
So
Yeah.
look, I don't really know much about the hurricane right now. I've been a little busy and stuff, but I'm gonna drop down after this. Hey, you see that thing that I sent you in WhatsApp about the sovereignty of my family and the name and stuff
Oh
like that
yeah,
when
I
they
saw
came here
that.
to
I saw
America?
that. Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah. I
look,
saw that.
I was hanging around some Masons and shit. I mean, excuse my language, some Masons, and
Mhm.
basically my family was giving me more history on our background and stuff like that. And what it is a lot of people have treaties with Lloyds of London and policies from back then, which under sovereignty they cannot be touched and stuff like that. They will actually be. That's how they can be a part of other nations while doing this. And they're private societies. They're private people who help pass our laws for with Congress and making their policies for the presidents to go about it. So that's why we have these type of things. People who are making a lot of money control those aspects of things because they got to keep building.
Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah, in the U.S., man, the people made money off slavery. Just a lot of people got rich and passed that money around, built companies that got bigger. I mean, those tobacco farms didn't just disappear. Those, agriculture just disappear. How were those lands acquired? What's the history of those lands? And it's changed over time, obviously, because slavery has stopped, outright slavery. And now it's moved over to cheap labor.
Yeah, it moved over to prison system than cheap labor.
Prison system and cheap labor. Yeah, exactly. Right. Yeah,
if you think about after slavery, what made the most money? People to keep the population down. But the way that they,
right.
If you watch movies like Life, if you watch Life, they got you working on the railroads. They got you building the economy for free.
Yeah, they just threw crimes on people and lock them up for life.
Mm-hmm.
You're locked up for life for boot.
And now you got free.
Oh, yeah, Ralph bounced hop down again. I'm gonna see what I can do about this tomorrow, y'all. But yeah, I'm on StreamYard today. I'm not StreamYard, Restream today. I decided to flip over because StreamYard just, they just doubled up, not doubled, but close to doubled up their prices again. That's almost like something like 40 something, almost $50 a month now. StreamYard. I'm not doing that. I could do 30. I was on the 30 program, something like that, $25 or whatever, no problem. But my goodness, double up. I'm sorry, that's a bit too much for that service. I could also go over to OBS. I know OBS as well, but yeah, I just don't have the time to really set it up exactly how I want it to look and things like that, the design. But in any case, somebody tell me about FEMA, what's going on, and not FEMA, but also the hurricane. Like, let me see if I can pop over to some news with this real quick. But I agree with Ralph. Yeah, man, this slavery stopped, Jim Crow, locking people up, now building the prison system, they're forced labor, and private corporations is owning. For me, I'm not with the private corporation thing. I'm not with it at all, and I just don't think it's the right way to do things. I don't think you should make money off of the prisoners. I don't think you should make money off of prisons. Myself, I think prisons are for reform. It should be primarily to benefit the society, to rehabilitate and make the society better. And I just don't think it works under with these other issues that we haven't reconciled yet. We haven't reconciled, we're starting to, the government's starting to talk about people that get sent to jail for more years. I mean, people talk, the data is out where African Americans, Hispanics are doing more time for the same crimes that non-Hispanic, non-Black people are doing in jail. And so as long as that kind of stuff goes on, then yeah, the privatization of prisons will be seen as slavery, and I'm not going to stop anybody who experiences that from not calling it slavery. I don't have any issue with that. I don't think it's right. It's not what's going on in the country I live in. Although I'm an American citizen, I live in Denmark, and they're not going about it that way. They're just not going about it that way at all. The prison system is organized differently, and it's a lot of nations that just don't believe in privatization. They find it akin to slavery, essentially making money. But yeah, let's get over to the hurricane now. Let's see, Andrea, what you say? Let me see here. They are getting ready in Tampa and surrounding areas for Hurricane Milton. Yes, that is supposed to make landfall on Wednesday. Yes, and I heard that there's some, you know, discussions about funding FEMA more. I'm not sure about what's going on with that. Uh, you know, my understanding is that the U.S. has money to deal with these things, so money should not be the answer. That's my thought. But obviously, Congress has the purse. So, and the last I heard, Biden was asking Congress to come on, hurry up and pass another bill regarding, you know, to release the funding, so it can go through the Senate and Biden can sign it. So what's up with that? Let me see if I can find something about that. Let me see here. We can pull that up now. Let's see. Replay screen sharing. Here we go. Let's go back to this one. Is that up? All right. So let's see here. Funding FEMA. Oh, sorry, I did that wrong. FEMA hurricane. Let's see here if something pops up here. Okay. Yeah, here we go. Now, there's some reports that FEMA to run out of money while Hurricane Helene victims fight for survival. FEMA doesn't have, and there's also C6 ABC Philadelphia. FEMA doesn't have enough funding to last through hurricane season. And then what is it they say in Mallorca and Milton? Okay, Milton is the one that's expected to hit the land on Wednesday. Concerns rise regarding, I just want to find the right link here. This is Tampa. Okay, this is the Hill. Okay. Yeah, okay. Republicans talking about FEMA money used to house migrants. I mean, okay, where's the data? What's the exact data on that? Because to be honest, FEMA is just supposed to be looking out for destruction, you know, and I don't know where you decide that that people that are immigrants are somehow not entitled to, you know, if they're there working legally. I don't get it, but I don't understand. Quite a few Republicans voted against funding FEMA, which includes the few from Florida. Okay, was that recent? Did they just recently vote against that? Let me get to this real quick. Let's see. FEMA running low on disaster money, but not because the funds went to housing or undocumented immigrants. All right, let's see what they say here.
Stole the FEMA money just like they stole it from a bank to their illegal immigrants.
Well, 10 TV political reporter Doug Petcash looked into this for us tonight, and the question being, is FEMA running out of disaster relief funding because it's being spent on undocumented migrants? Doug, what's the answer?
Well, no, Angela, the administration did not divert money from FEMA's disaster relief fund, but there is a separate fund administered by FEMA give hundreds of millions of dollars to help undocumented migrants. The White House pushed back on Trump's claims in a statement saying this is false. The disaster relief fund is specifically appropriated by Congress to prepare for, respond to, recover from, and mitigate impact disasters. It is completely separate from other grant programs administered by FEMA for DHS, the Department of Homeland Security, that is. And on its website, FEMA said basically the same thing, that no money is being diverted from disaster response needs. That being said, FEMA does administer the separate Shelter and Services Program in partnership with U.S. Customs and Border Protection. That program provides financial support to non-Ts to help non-citizen migrants. Its budget this year, $640 million. And just last month, 10 TV reported the city of Columbus received a $1 million grant through the program to provide shelter for immigrants, refugees, and asylum seekers. City officials say the grant will build upon partnerships and expand the capacity to provide shelter and material assistance for migrants and displaced residents. The city will get the money over 3 years. Now, Springfield, the Ohio city at the center of false claims about immigrants amplified by Trump, did not receive any grant funding through the Shelter and Services Program. In the studio, Doug Petcash, 10 TV News.
Andre, you there?
I'm here.
Okay, yeah. So what's happening? How you doing?
Would you like to
You're
know
in
how to
Texas right now, right?
Say again.
You're in
Say again,
Texas
VD.
now,
I
right?
didn't hear. Mm-hmm.
You're in Texas. You're in Texas right now, right? So what's going on
Cool.
right now? Keep me up to
Uh-huh.
date because I haven't
There's
really
nothing
had
happening
time
in
to
here.
follow the.
There's nothing
Okay,
happening here. What's
nothing
happening
happening.
is the Republicans, quite a few Republicans voted not to fund FEMA, which includes
What
quite a
was that?
few in Florida. This was here, I think,
Ooh,
here recently. I have to go back and check.
okay, okay. There was a vote. Okay,
Yeah. So
good.
that if there's not enough money with FEMA, that's where that's coming from. It's not because it's going to, quote unquote illegal immigrants and all this other stuff. It's because these people are refusing to vote to fund it. But they're the first ones that need it. Every Republican in Florida should vote for that. Every one of them, because they get hurricanes all the time. It is just ridiculous. Tabitha Speaks, I think that's what her name is. You need to go listen to her. She gives the name of every single one of the Republicans that refused to
Oh,
vote
really?
to fund FEMA. Yes.
Okay, Tabitha Speaks. Let me see something here. Yeah, she's
Mm-hmm.
on script. I'm subscribed to her. Here we go. But
Yeah.
let me go to her. Let me see which one it was where she
And
did this.
there's a few of them. There's a bunch of them from the House and the Senate.
Okay, the Democrats are okay. Let me see here. Is this? Okay, let me go to the. Was
I
it a
have to go
video
out there.
or a live?
Yes, it's a video. It's not a long video, I don't think.
It's a short.
Let me see. It's not a short. No, she actually
Okay,
read
okay,
everyone's name, so it's not a short. I
okay.
have to go find her.
Yeah, if you could send it to me, and WhatsApp, or put it in the link in the back chat, then I can pull it up. Let me try to find it also. Let me see here.
I have to remember what it was
Funding
called.
for FEMA. Let me do that. Maybe if I know what to do.
Yeah.
I got to search here. Funding for FEMA. Okay, here we go. I found it. Here we go. Now let's see here. Okay, here we go.
All they do is lie. And now the lie is in regards to $750 payments to those affected by Hurricane Helene. Let's talk about it. Good morning, peeps. Happy Saturday. There's viral news stories being put out there in regards to the Biden-Harris administration only authorizing $750 payments to those affected by Hurricane Helene. I have consistently said during this election cycle that all Republicans and MAGA nuts do is lie. And all misinformed individuals do is repeat their lies. I want to remind you that there are 435 congressional seats up for grabs. What MAGA nut Republicans who are currently sitting in the House and in the Senate are doing, they are using the devastation of Hurricane Helene to manipulate and spread lies to those who are misinformed or uneducated in how FEMA and disaster relief funds work. They are spreading the lie that it is President Biden and Kamala Harris who's holding back funding to those who are in need, only providing a $750 payment. That is a lie. Congress controls the purse strings. No amount of money gets dispersed without the approval of members of Congress in the House and in the Senate. What MAGA nut Republicans like Matt Gaetz and Marjorie Taylor Greene and Donald Trump, what they are doing is they are lying and manipulating this situation by blaming President Biden and Kamala Harris for there not being any funding dispersed to those in need. Why? Because they want to make Vice President Kamala Harris look bad. They want to sway votes away from Vice President Kamala Harris. Congress controls the purse strings, and Congress controls how much funding organizations like FEMA get. And before Hurricane Helene hit, they took a vote on whether or not to provide additional funding to FEMA, funding that FEMA has been begging for. They took a vote and they denied to provide any other additional funding to FEMA. Who voted against that additional funding to FEMA? It wasn't Democrats. It was Republicans. And now they've gone on vacation. Congress is on break. And so, yeah, nothing is happening to provide additional funding to FEMA in order to help the citizens in need. There are 435 seats up for grabs come November 5th. And I've got a full list of those Republicans who voted no on providing FEMA with additional funding to help the citizens of this country when it comes to catastrophe.
How many names?
Seats. There are 435 seats up for grabs come November 5th. And I've got a full list of those Republicans who voted no on providing FEMA with additional funding to help the citizens of this country when it comes to catastrophes like Hurricane Helene. Furthermore, getting rid of departments like getting rid of departments that provide us with information on impending storms, their size, their strength, when they intend to hit, where they intend to hit, the Hurricane National Center, those types of organizations, getting rid of these organizations, these departments within the federal government, that is also a part of Project 2025. So MAGA Republicans cutting funding to FEMA, cutting funding to the National Hurricane Center, all of that is them putting into action Project 2025. I got this article from Newsweek where it lists all of the Republicans, because I told you no Democrats.
Here are 3 ways to make your samples more unique.
Let me scout.
Voted to Newsweek where it lists all of the Republicans, because I told you no Democrats voted to not fund FEMA. All of the Democrats wanted to properly fund FEMA. It was Republicans who voted to not fund FEMA. And here is the full list of those Republicans. Representative James Baird of Indiana, Representative Troy Balderson of Ohio, Representative Aaron Bean of Florida, Representative Andy Biggs of Arizona, Representative Gus Bilirakis of Florida, Representative Dan Bishop of North Carolina, Representative Lauren Boebert of Colorado, Representative Mike Bost of Illinois, Representative Josh Breachin of Oklahoma, Representative Tim Burchett of Tennessee. Tim Burchett is the one that told us that will do nothing to stop mass shootings. Representative Eric Burleson of Missouri, Representative Kat Kamak of Florida, Representative Michael Cloud of Texas, Representative Andrew Clyde of Georgia, Representative Mike Collins of Georgia, Representative Eli Crane of Arizona, Representative John Curtis of Utah, Representative Warren Davidson of Representative Byron Donalds of Florida, Representative Jeff Duncan of South Carolina, Representative Ron Estes of Representative Mike Ezel of Mississippi, Representative Randy Feenstra of Iowa, Representative Brad Finstad of Minnesota, Representative Michelle Fishbach of Minnesota, Representative Russell Fry of South Carolina, Representative Russ Fulcher of Idaho, Representative Matt Gaetz of Florida, Representative Tony Gonzalez of Texas, Representative Bob Good of Virginia, Representative Lance Gooden of Texas, Representative Paul Gosar of Arizona, Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene of Georgia, Representative Morgan Griffith of Virginia, Representative Michael Guest of Mississippi, Representative Harriet Hagman of Wyoming, Representative Andy Harris of Maryland, Representative Clay Higgins of Louisiana. Clay Higgins is the one that just put out that racist tweet about illegal Haitian immigrants living and working in Springfield. Representative Jim Jordan of Ohio, Representative John Joyce of Pennsylvania, Representative Trent Kelly of Mississippi, Representative Darren LaHood of Illinois, Representative Laurel Lee of Florida, Representative Debbie Lasco of Arizona, Representative Greg Lopez of Colorado, Representative Anna Paulina Luna of Florida, Representative Morgan Luttrell of Texas, Representative Nancy Mace of South Carolina, Representative Tracy Mann of Kansas, Representative Thomas Massey of Kentucky, Representative Tom McClintock of California, Representative Rich McCormick of Georgia, Representative Mary Miller of Illinois, Representative Max Miller of Ohio, Representative Corey Mills of Florida, Representative Alex Mooney of West Virginia, Representative Barry Moore of Alabama, Representative Nathaniel Moran of Texas, Representative Ralph Norman of South Carolina, Representative Andy Ogles of Tennessee, Representative Gary Palmer of Alabama, Representative Scott Perry of Pennsylvania, Representative Bill Posey of Florida, Representative John Rose of Tennessee, Representative Matt Rosendale of Montana, Representative Chip Roy of Texas, Representative David Schweikert of Arizona, Representative
All these damn Republicans voted against funding, additional funding for FEMA hurricane relief, disaster relief, and oh my goodness, man.
Keith Self of Texas, Representative Victoria Sparks of Indiana, Representative Claudia Tenney of New York, Representative William Timmons of South Carolina, Representative Jeff Van Drew of New Jersey, Representative Derek Van Orden of Wisconsin, Representative Mike Waltz of Florida, Representative Randy Weber of Texas, Representative Daniel Webster of Florida, Representative Bruce Westerman of Arkansas, Representative Roger Williams of Texas, and Representative Rudy Yakim of Indiana. Those are all of the congressmen and women that are in the House. Let's move on to the Senate. Senator Marsha Blackburn of Texas, Senator Mike Braun of Indiana, Senator Katie Britt of...
Okay, so the bill moved on to the Senate. So it got through Congress. And I guess that's with, all Democrats voting for the additional funding for the FEMA disaster relief. But she's reading off the list of Republicans. She just read the list of Republicans who voted against funding FEMA. They voted against disaster relief for the hurricane that just hit, where people are out of homes, out of communities, out of electricity, out of jobs, out of housing, out of everything, transport, goods, food, services in general. And now she's reading the list of Republicans that voted against it in the Senate. Now it made it to the Senate, so I'm even surprised it made it. I'm glad it made it to the Senate, but damn, let's see.
Alabama, Ted Budd of North Carolina, Senator Mike Crapo of Idaho, Senator Deb Fisher of Nebraska, Senator Bill Hagerty of Tennessee, Senator Josh Hawley of Missouri, Senator Ron Johnson of Wisconsin, Senator Mike Lee of Utah. Senator Mike Lee was the one that was caught on video telling his constituents that they would absolutely get rid of Medicare and Social Security. Senator Roger Marshall of Kansas, Senator Mark Wayne Mullen of Oklahoma. Senator Mark Wayne Mullen of Oklahoma was the one that was going to go at it with the Teamsters president during warnings, right? This is the time, this is the place. Remember that little showdown where Bernie Sanders had to interject and let them know that we are adults and we are in a professional government hearing? Yeah. Senator Rand Paul of Kentucky, we all know Rand Paul. Yeah, we still mad at his neighbor for not finishing the job. Senator Pete Ricketts of Nebraska, Senator James Risch of Idaho, Senator Eric Schmidt, Missouri, Senator Tim Scott of South Carolina. I just love you, Donald Trump. Senator Tommy of Alabama. Those are all the senators that voted against funding FEMA that would have gone a long way to help those who are current in desperate need of assistance. These are the individuals that are stopping you from getting. They did not care. They did not care about your need, American citizens. They care about Project 2025, implementing what is in Project 2025. They care about supporting Donald Trump.
Now, it appears that the bill didn't make it past And I'm curious about that because in the Newsweek article, let me pull this. Well, hold on. Let me hear what Tabitha say real quick before I cut back up.
And if that means busting up all of government, then so be it. They do not care about you, American taxpayers.
Yeah. Now, people in those states pay taxes like everybody else around the country in states that are not affected by the hurricane. Those people affected by the hurricanes in those states, they paid federal taxes. And guess who's holding it back? Their own senators. They're holding back their relief. Republicans are holding back their own states' relief from the hurricane. What sense does that make? What do y'all think about that? I mean, do you think it's okay if let me find anybody in one of those states devastated by the hurricane? I want to hear from some of you people. Like, if you can get online, these people can't even get online. Can they get online right now? I'm sorry, but I don't know where this makes any sense whatsoever. If you pay federal taxes, don't you want relief? I don't know what the hell is going on. I don't see how anybody could vote for a representative in their state that doesn't support disaster relief funding in their own damn state. In their own damn state. And they paid federal taxes already. The people paid the taxes. The senators, they just pay individual tax. But what about all the people they represent? What about all the people in their state that paid federal income tax? All I could say is that thank God I'm not in one of those places. But then again, the country that I live in is pro green initiative. They've been making strides for the last, decade for preparing for flooding, preparing for global climate change, the effects of climate change. The country that I'm in, something like 70% of the electrical lines that provide electricity to homes and businesses have already been buried underground in the last decade. You see what I mean? That means flooding is not going to stop the electricity. Flooding is not going to affect homes. Flooding, most of the residents, flooding is not going to stop the electricity. The flooding still exists, but they've been working on that here too for a long time, in areas that are highly populated and areas that need it, pumping water out through, making sure that the water that hits the ground gets pumped out, shoring up the shorelines. They've been doing this for the last decade here where I'm at in Denmark. And to see my own country, the United States of America, politicize a hurricane, in my mind, that's the worst damn thing you could ever do. You could ever do. And I'll be damned if I want to pay taxes and not get any help. Is that a crime? Is that legal? Is there something else that needs to happen right now? Should Biden issue an executive order at this point? I don't know how much money FEMA has left. I'm sure it has some funding left, but there's another hurricane coming in a week from now that they expect. As I was told, Andrea mentioned to me that the House is on, vacation right now. And it says here, let me pull up this article here. I'm going to read this article now. Let me see here. Boom. Let's see here. Full list. Let me go through this one. Here we go. This popped up. This was quoting Let me see if I can pull it up here on the screen. See. Is it through? Can y'all see this? Yeah, here we go. Yeah, I can see. Let me flip the screen over so it can be viewed better. Let's see here. Where is this at? Boom. Right. Okay. So let me read a little bit of this. Full list of Republican reps who voted against FEMA funding before Helena hit. Okay, so this is just before Helena hit. All right. As Hurricane Helena careened towards Florida's panhandle, numerous Republicans voted against extending funding for Federal Emergency Management Agency. That's what FEMA is. Last week, Congress approved $20 billion for FEMA. Okay, so it did go through Congress. Congress approved $20 billion additional fundings for FEMA Disaster Relief Fund as part of a stopgap spending bill to fund the government through December 20th. But the measure left out billions of dollars in requested supplemental disaster fund. Okay. The Senate approved the measure by 78 to 18 vote on September 25th after it passed the House in a 341, that's Democrat, to 82 vote. Okay, so 82 Republicans voted for, but a huge amount of Republicans voted against it. So in the Senate, let's see here, approved measure by 78 to 18, and it passed the House. Okay. After it passed the House to 341. Okay, so in Congress, 82 Republicans voted, 341 Democrats voted for it. Yeah, but it went to the Senate. The Senate approved the measure by 78 to 18 vote. Republicans supplied the no votes in both chambers. So, yeah, so Democrats voted for funding, and there's some Republicans that just didn't want to do it. Some of the Republicans who voted against the bill represent states that have been hit hard by Helena, including Florida Representative Matt Gaetz. Now, let's see here. Helena hit Florida as a Category 4 storm last Thursday before plowing through several other states in the Southeast. The devastation could cost up to $160 billion, according to an estimate by AccuWeather. Some Republicans railed against FEMA funding being allocated for assisting migrants after Homeland Security Alejandro Mayorkas told reporters on Wednesday that FEMA will run out of money before the hurricane season is over. The agency is facing a multi-billion-dollar deficit even after imposing new spending restrictions. So let me see. So I can hear somebody is trying to hop up. Let me see. Who is that? It's 3. Let me get y'all up here. Anybody who wants to hop up, feel free and let me know what y'all think about this. Sorry about the delay. I'm just getting used to restream. 2 seconds. It's a little slow. I don't know if it's my internet today or what. Are you there, Andrea? Hold on.
I'm here.
Let's try it again.
Can you hear me?
It's coming on. There you go. You there, Andrea?
I'm here.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
So the 341, so the 341 is Democrats and Republicans. So it's not, those are not all Democrats. Yeah, so the House, I think there's more Republicans in the House than Democrats. And I think it's 50-50 in the Senate. So some Republicans did vote, but she's pointing out the ones who didn't vote for the funding. Yeah.
Okay, I got you. So 341 is Democrats and Republicans, and the 82
Correct.
is Republicans. Right.
And this, yes, all Republicans. And then the 78 is Democrats and Republicans, and 18, I think she's read off that were Republicans that didn't that voted
Okay.
to not fund them. Yeah.
And it sounds here like they're saying the vote was not even to really get past it, not really solve the deficit in the in the
Mm-mm.
FEMA funding. It's just emergency, but it's not going to clear up all the funding. This one vote,
No,
right? Isn't it something like that?
that's what it.
Isn't it?
That's what it
Yeah.
sounds like. Yep.
Yeah. I don't know. Is this it says here that Biden is calling, okay, President Joe Biden said Monday he may call Congress back into session during a break to pass emergency supplemental funding, as some lawmakers from states hit by Helena have urged. So there's lawmakers hit by it. Some of the lawmakers hit by it are urging everyone else to go back into session, right? Or they're urging a new session on this matter. What do you think can be done after this? Let's say the vote turns out the same. They're trying to hard line to see what they can get, faster, to see how pressed people are, to see if they can add or change something. Like you heard them mention some stories about FEMA funding being allocated for migrants. What's up with that?
Hmm. Oh, that's just their
I
excuse
mean,
for not wanting to.
it's
They're just keep trying to find a way not to do a thing. You know, Same old stuff, different day. And
yeah,
all
that's
those in Florida, there was like 10 or 11 of them just out of the state of Florida alone that voted against doing that. You know, it's just shameful. It's just shameful.
it's the state. Does the state even have to accept the funding, even if it's passed?
No, they don't.
I'm not sure. Okay. So why don't they just, so in other words, they're just holding up other people
Yeah.
that want the funding. Yeah. This is just, it's too much. It's too much. I mean, but
Hmm.
if this is how politics are going to be played, I mean, I try to tell people all the time, like, when it comes to these kind of issues, matter of fact, if I go to my timeline in my a lot of the shorts I've been doing, because a lot of the shorts are equal shorts. I mean, I'm getting a lot of supporters, MAGA supporters. I don't know if they're trolls. Some of them are trolls. Some of them are real people. But I realized I started changing my approach to them. I started saying, well, you know what? People come in there and say, Trump 2024, and it's on a short about, for example, it might be FEMA. For example, it might be something else, right, that has just passed or that Dems want or advocating for. And people will come on there and be like, Trump 2025, I don't support this and I don't support that. And I started changing my replies to, well, just understand something, I've already voted electronically for Kamala Harris and Tim Walz. But I was saying, but I live in a different country. So the country I live in, we're getting all of these things that Dems are asking for in the US. So even if Trump wins, I'm still, the country I'm living in
Right.
is moving forward with these kind of things, burying the funding for burying electric lines, burying up the seashore so that the flooding doesn't come from outside. The sewage systems they've been upgrading to pump out water that collects during rainfall, things like this, right? And I've been telling people that although I'm an American citizen, Trump become a president, he ain't taking my universal health care away. I just want Americans to get it. You know, it doesn't seem
Yeah.
to hit people. It seems like people are more into not whether the law is a good law, but just fighting against the other party, you know, over things that make
Hmm.
sense to fund, but they just do funding against it because it's the other party. It's like, and they have it seems like they're just voting to deny someone else when they're being denied the same thing if they vote against it.
Yep. Stupid.
I don't get
Yeah.
it. I don't get it. I
Me
don't get it.
either.
So can Biden do something about this the next time around? Let's say they don't vote for supplemental funding this next time around when if Congress goes into session on the matter. Can Biden then do an executive order for
Yeah, that
security
I don't
reasons? Because
know.
this is a security matter. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
this disaster relief is security.
Yeah. Yeah,
You
I have to
know,
go look that
in
up.
my
I'm not
view,
sure.
yeah, and my thoughts are, the right thing to do is to call Congress into session because then it becomes law, right? But in a disaster, that's security. And if Biden passes an executive order, where will it? All for that to fund FEMA, but then we got the Supreme Court, right?
Probably.
And these Republicans, what would they do? You know what I'm saying? Will they fight it in the courts?
It's just shameful. It really
It's
is.
shameful. It is shameful. It is so shameful. And
I
this
mean,
part, I
they
have
want
to
to talk
say,
about them being they want to talk about them
American.
being pro-life and all this other stuff. They're not pro-life. They don't give a damn about anybody. They don't give a damn,
Pro-life, but
and they prove it
hurricane
over and over
comes.
again.
Yeah. I mean, I know I'm smiling, but it's hard. I'm only smiling because it's not, I'm not living under the US. I'm not waiting for FEMA. I live outside of the US. So it's crazy. Who could imagine this? I could never, I could never imagine it. I could never, and thank God, I'm from Washington, D.C., but thank God I'm not from Florida. Thank God I'm not from one of these states that's hit by Helena. I mean, yo, talk about get the hell out of Dodge and go somewhere else. Even though I
Yeah,
didn't, I didn't own a home myself in the U.S., but if I did, I would be angry right now. I would be so angry at these Republicans. Like, you're not going to release the funding from my own tax dollars federally?
yeah.
I don't get it.
But
I
but
really
we'll
don't get
do
it.
$1 billion tax cuts for the billionaires and the millionaires. We don't have no problem with that. You
Yeah,
know.
if I was Congress in the Senate, because of this type of vote, I would definitely never give any type of tax break to the wealthy until these type of matters get cleared up. Like, just no, because as you know, the wealthy got no problem. They got multiple houses in different states. They can flee disaster zones. You know, the people that are that have multiple homes in different states. But yeah, it's just travesty. It's a travesty. It's a human rights thing. I mean, people talk about, Gaza is bad enough, right? But the U.S. is experiencing Gaza right now.
Yeah.
It's just
And he
from the
said
war,
like
just from the hurricane.
when Hurricane, I think it was Hurricane Maria or whatever,
Hmm.
when that fool was in office, the governor from New York, not New York, North Carolina requested like 96 million or something like that or whatever
Hmm.
from that fool's administration, and he only got 1% of that to take care
Hmm.
of the state of North Carolina. He got
Hmm.
1% because he was a blue state governor, or he was a Democratic governor, and that fool wouldn't give him all the money he needed to take care of the people in his state. I mean, it's just shameful. I mean, these people can say what they want to say. There is no excuse for human suffering anywhere. I don't care where it is, here in America, but anywhere. There's no excuse for human suffering. None.
No, no, it's terrible. Actually, yeah, it's terrible. It's terrible. I don't. I just think there's no words for it. It's terrible, but there's no words for it whatsoever. It's beyond terrible. I mean, it's treasonous, if you ask
Mm-hmm.
me. It's true.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, you can always come back. You know, the congressional members that voted against it, the senatorial members that voted against it, they can always come back tomorrow. Their lives aren't affected, you know, because most of them live in DC, right? They got homes in DC, even though they're registered and they pay taxes in the state they're from. They have a home in their state, but most of them live in DC. You know, they don't fly back, or is that, I think a lot of the congressional members live in DC from different states, you know, and then yeah, and some of the senators too. Maybe they all don't do that, but I don't see how you're going to be, you know, living, how you're going to be in session for days after day arguing things, and you don't have a place to live in the capital city. You know what I mean? So most of them live in residence. They don't live in hotels. You see what I mean? And it's just terrible. And meanwhile, the people in their own states don't have a place to live, out of a home.
Yeah. And then they said that fool did a GoFundMe, and he's raised like $6 million, and because he claimed his property was hit with the last one.
What? Trump?
There's an article out there. Yeah.
$6 million for hurricane. Let me see. Damn. I mean, so he grifted that. He grifted it. What? Trump stealing $6 million from Hurricane Helena victims. So he raised the money and then spent it for his own homes.
It's just, I mean, there's just no shame. Just none whatsoever. None.
Let me see something here. Now he met so 2 days ago he met the governor. He met Governor Kemp. Is this 2 days ago? This is after Kemp said no, Trump is not telling the truth. I talked to Biden, and Biden released the funding, and and he told me if I need any more help, let him know. And I said no, we have everything we need. And this is Trump meeting him after that, right? Let me see what he got to say. Let me see what happened.
Right now to the former president, who in the last hour received damage from Hurricane Helene. He's in Georgia, standing side by side with hasn't exactly gotten along with the state's Mr. Trump, saying he feels the first victims, while again baselessly attacking FEMA for the response.
Money that's supposed to go to Georgia and supposed to go to North Carolina and all of the others is going and has gone already. It's been gone for people that came into the country illegally, and nobody's ever seen anything like that. That's a shame.
Mr. Trump alleging that hurricane relief money is going to illegal immigrants. It's ahead of Mr. Trump's big return tomorrow to Butler, Pennsylvania, the site of the first assassination attempt against him back in July. NBC's Shaquille Brewster is in Evans, Georgia. I got two questions for you. Number one, that kind of takes people by surprise. Alleging hurricane is instead going to illegal immigrants. Shaq, I'm guessing you haven't had time to do a fact check on this.
Well, no, we did. I tried to ask the former president, where is he getting this information from? What evidence does he have that FEMA is redirecting money, which, by the way, would be illegal? And he did not take that question, or at least hear my question when I was asking as he was here. So if you want to go through the details of this, look, he gets that number fact that there is money allocated to help cities deal with the influx of migrants. FEMA helps distribute that money that is congressionally mandated. That fund is completely different than what we know to be the Federal Disaster Response Fund. The Federal Disaster Response Fund, FEMA is warning that because of the way the Congress has funded the government over the years, that they may need more money if there's another hurricane. But essentially, Donald Trump is trying to conflate those two things. We've been repeatedly saying that, FEMA is saying that this is not true. We know it's not to be true, but it's something that the former president continues to repeat as recently as a couple of hours ago as he was standing next to Brian Kemp here.
All right, let's underscore that. Your sources and FEMA all saying that it's not true. Let's look ahead to tomorrow. By the way, the former president, we understand, is in Fayetteville, North Carolina.
Okay.
Right now. Looking ahead to tomorrow when he's back.
Yeah. Okay. So, yeah. So basically, not true. He's manipulating the facts, and it's not the same funds. And to me, it seems like they know there's another hurricane coming. And in order for the president to have funds to distribute ahead of the storm hitting, just like they did when he called the disaster FEMA was able to act the last time. That was before the hurricane hit. Sounds to me like they want to prepare for the for more problems. And Trump and other Republicans don't want the country to be prepared to do that because Biden's the president.
Yeah, and he claimed that these hurricanes are taking place late in the hurricane season. I'm like, you're an idiot.
What does that?
He said
that
they're occurring late in the season in the hurricane
God,
season. Man,
God
hurricane
came
season
down
always
and
in December.
because Jesus came down and said, this is hurricane season. Like it's nature. God he doesn't do things when he wants to. He does it according to schedule. And he's delivered the schedule to Trump.
Yeah.
And it's a little late in the season. It's not really hurricane season right now. So I told one person that commented on a thread on one of these shorts that I have up. I told them, I said, well, hey, if you don't want help in your state for the disaster, then I think you should not support it. But me, I told him, as an American citizen, I don't live in any of those states, and I don't even live in the country. So you stalling support for a hurricane is not hurting me. Why are you on my thread?
Yeah.
That's stopping me. Trump is not going to stop me from my health care. Trump is not going to stop my kids from being paid to go to school. Trump is not going to stop housing insurance here where I live. Trump can't do anything about this American citizen where I live because in the state, in the country where I live, Trump ain't the president.
Yeah.
And people would be up in arms. No, even the right-wing government would not here in Denmark would not support this crap. In fact, it's the right-wing governments that are signing the bills for shoring up the shoreline in Denmark, for burying the electric cables underground, so electricity won't be affected. They're also in support of these infrastructure programs. It's just crazy. And in the U.S., the politicians, I don't get it. It's not just right wing; it's extreme right wing in the U.S. I don't even know if you could call it right wing because it's like treasonous. It's treasonous. Yeah. I don't know what to say, but I could say this, for the people that are affected by this hurricane, there's no excuse. There's no excuse. Migrants got nothing to do with it. Help the people first. Solve the migrant thing in another congressional session if you want to solve it. But it's wrong to hold up relief to people that are being thrown out of their homes. And you tell people every day in the United States of America that, if you work hard, you can buy a home. This home is my property. I get to govern what's on my property. You can't come on my property. I got a gun to defend my property. Can a gun defend you from a hurricane?
Right.
Can a gun defend your property from a hurricane, from flooding? Obviously, no. No one of those guns stopped that hurricane. What's stopping the disaster relief is the Republicans with the pen. with the pen. Yes, the pen is mightier than the sword. So I hope
Yeah.
you vote, vote, vote. If you can survive long enough to vote in November,
Yeah, guns have more rights to exist in America than a woman's body.
the gun in America is doing just fine. The gun can't be hurt by a flood. It can't be hurt by a hurricane. It can't be hurt by people's electricity being knocked out. The guns are doing just fine. But the
Mm-hmm.
people, yeah, yep, exactly. But the people in a
Not so
hurricane,
much.
in a disaster, yep. And this is federal. I don't understand what their goal is. I mean, you cannot rewrite um the American Constitution in one day. You can't create chaos that way. That this thing has amendments and been built upon over hundreds of years now, you know, and these people are pretending like somehow you can just hold things up to get what a complete and utter change in the entire country for how everything is governed and regulated. This is ridiculous. This is ridiculous. I mean, I would have to say they out to destroy the country.
Yeah.
That's what I would have at this point, because they have an opportunity to help something not destroy the country, but they're going to let it destroy parts of the country. Yeah. And you know what's so scary? It almost seems like, I don't know if this is how the people that have been hit by the hurricane feel, but when I go online, it seems like there's a lot of Americans, at least trolls online, that literally don't care about any of those people. I don't even know if these are trolls from these states or people from these states making these kind of comments, against funding FEMA and things like that. But it's just the weirdest thing I've
Yeah.
ever seen.
And these storms don't single out whether you're Republican or Democrat or migrant or American citizen or what your religious beliefs are. It doesn't do anything like that. And for that, MTG had the nerve to say that the Democrats are controlling the weather and they're the ones that's causing these hurricanes to
What?
hit these red states. Oh, they say all kind of stupid stuff. I'm telling you, it's just ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
Hold on. Let me try to find this one. I'm gonna
Yeah,
switch. I mean, I hate to switch over to something more light. It's actually horrible, but it's better than this news, But damn, let me look that up real quick. Go ahead, Andrea.
no, I'm
Let me
just saying that's they're saying all this ridiculous stuff out there. It's just mind boggling. Just I think just to get attention because they can't believe what they're saying. So
Do they have a hurricane machine? Is that what they're saying?
it's
Oh, this is it right
HAARP.
here.
Mhm.
MJT? Is that what it said?
MTG. Mm-hmm.
Let
Dumbass.
me see this. Oh my God, this can't. This is real. On the floor and say things like this. Point disinformation legal.
Just find a carpet.
And we're looking at a lot of buzz in the last 24 hours. It claims Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene is applying Democrats caused hurricane to harm Republicans. And folks, this one is true. Last night, Greene wrote on X, quote, "Yes, they can control the weather. It's ridiculous for anyone to lie and say it cannot be done." While she didn't say exactly who they are, the post came just hours after Greene posted this map showing the political lean of the areas impacted by the hurricane. And as you can see, there is definitely more red than blue. Greene has pushed many conspiracy theories in the past, including some which have been called anti-Semitic. If you would like to submit a question to us, just go to 10news.com and click on fact
Okay,
or
that's
fiction.
crazy. Now, let me ask you something. There's another hurricane coming, right?
Mm-hmm.
What is the path of that hurricane? What's the
It's
next?
supposed
Let
to
me
be
see.
like almost like a direct hit on Tampa and going like across the state. So
Okay, okay. I get it. Here's the pathway right here. I don't know if y'all can see this, but yes. So it's back to Florida again. Tampa. You know what? And this is like they played politics, you know. They play politics down there. You know, I don't know if this is like called karma or something, but let's be honest. Had Florida, you would think Florida, since it's down there where hurricanes seem to always cross, you would think they would be pro, um, you know, uh, FEMA, pro, pro disaster relief, pro, you know, shoring up the shores for everybody, anybody. Because look, if your home was devastated by a hurricane, the moment you hear that someone else's is going to be harmed, you would also want them to get help too, right?
yeah,
Because you would identify with that disaster, like, damn, this happened, and thank God the government acted on when it happened to me, and now it's going to happen to them. I hope they don't get funding. Is that what you would do? Or you would be like, I hope they get help just like I got help. Let's pray
yeah,
for them. But these people, what's up with Florida? They don't seem to be. Now they have a Republican governor, right? Is
yep.
that DeSantis? What's his
Mm-hmm.
position on all of this stuff? FEMA.
I know he said something, but I don't recall right off the top of my head. But
Okay, let me see here. DeSantis, Helena, Hurricane. I want to see
Milton.
what he's. Oh, it's Milton.
Milton is the new one coming. Yeah.
Okay, let me see here. Milton. Or how about I say DeSantis? It's DeSantis, Florida governor, Florida governor, hurricane. Let's see. I want to see what he said. If he said anything. Okay, this is 6 hours ago. Let's hear.
Today, some said it might happen tomorrow, and it's already happened. And so it's strengthened. Moved that far since the morning. It's going to start picking up the pace there as it comes close to Florida sometime on Wednesday afternoon. The forecast currently calls for the storm to reach potentially a Category 4 with landfall at a Category 3. Now, don't get too focused on this cone and on a specific spaghetti model. There's still a lot of uncertainty on this. The entire Florida peninsula on the Gulf side has the potential to have major impacts from storm surge. How that storm ultimately develops in terms of the track will obviously have a big impact in terms of which areas are going to get more damage than others. But there's just no way to say that, well, if you're in this part of the Gulf Coast, you're probably going to be fine. There's no way it's going to get here. No, there's actually a lot of range of possibilities when it comes to the storm. Just be mindful of that and let that uncertainty influence your preparations to know that you're not going to be able to be told with 100-degree certainty where the storm is going to go this far out in advance. We signed an executive order declaring a state of emergency yesterday. We now have 51 Florida counties that are in that executive order. We do the standard stuff so people can prepare, our state resources, local governments. But one of the things that we did was make sure that all debris, disaster debris management sites that are in landfills and counties that were impacted by Hurricane Helene, that they remain open 24/7 for drop-off. And yes, we had a situation this morning in Pinellas County, bright and early. No one was there. So we just opened it. At the state officials opened it and are using it, and we need to do that. We have directed state personnel to help with this, and so you've got a lot of assets that have been brought to bear, and we're happy to do that to assist and to supplement, not to displace, but to supplement local government's obligations on debris removal. We are at a level 1 here. As of the 5 o'clock advisory, Hurricane Milton was located 805 miles west-southwest of Tampa. Maximum sustained winds have now reached 85 miles per hour. Kevin and his team at Florida DEM are fulfilling missions actively in preparation for the storm making landfall in the state of Florida. We've sent high water rescue vehicles from Pinellas counties.
I wonder, has he made any comments regarding Trump's comments? Or
You might have to
Congress?
look through there. I know I heard something, but I don't remember what it was.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna see what I can find. That's but you know what? It's kind of like it doesn't matter because he's a Republican and he's been
Mm-hmm.
outspoken. I mean, he's not for Trump, but it seems like he supported a lot of things that Trump maybe has said about migrants, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't know. It seemed to me like he supported that. And I wonder if he feels like, damn, this is a bad position to be in. Like, on one hand, I'm totally against Biden. Like, he sounds like he's against Biden and Democrats. But yet, what's his alternative in terms of a vote? Do you think he will vote for Trump?
Yeah, I don't know, but I think President Biden called him and said that I think he's going to give him $1 billion or something like that for Helene and all that stuff. So I don't know if he accepted it or not, but I think
Mm,
that's what I heard.
okay. It says here that here, let me bring this up here real quick. Is this support? It says here Governor Ron DeSantis of Florida has expressed support for FEMA disaster relief. His administration has actively sought federal assistance in response to various natural disasters that have impacted Florida, including hurricanes and storms. A request for federal assistance in 2022 for assistance after Hurricane Ian struck, sought and received federal assistance to help. Yeah, that's under Biden. Support for relief programs. DeSantis administration has worked with FEMA to ensure that Floridians receive necessary aid during the disaster recovery. DeSantis has publicly emphasized the importance of federal support in rebuilding efforts after significant disasters. Collaboration with FEMA. The governor has praised FEMA's role in disaster response recovery, highlighting collaboration between state and federal agencies. Bipartisan support for disaster relief. While DeSantis is Republican, support for disaster relief programs often garners bipartisan agreement as the need for assistance in recovery efforts transcend political affiliations. Overall, DeSantis recognizes the importance of FEMA disaster relief in supporting Floridians' recovery efforts following natural disasters. Yeah, so he's not one of those. Actually, governor. That's in 2026, right? That election.
I think so.
Okay, that's not this year. That's not a down ticket for this year election, right?
Mm-mm.
No. Okay, so
But
he's not up. Go
he
ahead.
should say something to all those who voted against any extra funding. He should say something to those representatives because his state needs it more than anybody.
DeSantis. Yeah, let's see here. Did DeSantis of Florida comment on Republicans voting against disaster relief from FEMA? No, voted against funding FEMA. Voting against additional funding from of FEMA. I'm sorry, of FEMA. Let me see here. I want to see if it pulls up anything on that. Just just to make sure. I mean, there might be something out there, even if ChatGPT doesn't pull it up, but who knows? I don't have all the time to be searching through all the articles, and I haven't been watching the news in the last couple of days. So I'm kind of what? Let me see here. Oh, hold on. Did it pull something? Oh, here it is. It's coming up. Okay. Yes. It says here. Okay, I'm gonna okay, whoa. Okay, hold on. This is not this is not this year. This was last year they did the same thing. Damn. What? Because there's hurricanes every year. What? Damn, this ain't even the first time they did it. Hold on. This is crazy. This is crazy. Is this the right one? Let me pull this up here for y'all. Oh my goodness. This is just too much.
Yes, Governor Ron DeSantis has commented on the Republicans voting against additional funding for FEMA. In September 2023, the House of Representatives considered a funding package that included disaster relief funding for FEMA, but some Republicans voted against it, which drew criticism from DeSantis. Key points from DeSantis's comments. 1. Criticism of party members. DeSantis expressed disappointment in Republicans who opposed additional funding for disaster relief, emphasizing the importance of supporting communities affected by disasters, particularly in the aftermath of hurricanes. 2. Impact on Florida. He highlighted that Florida often faces significant challenges during hurricane season and that securing adequate funding for FEMA is crucial for the state's recovery efforts. 3. Bipartisan support for disaster relief. DeSantis underscored the need for a bipartisan approach to ensure that disaster relief funding is available when needed, regardless of party affiliation. DeSantis's comments reflect his ongoing advocacy for federal support in disaster recovery efforts and his desire for the Republican Party to prioritize the needs of constituents affected by natural disasters. For further details, you can refer to articles from Politico and /dw.politico.com and Fox News.
Okay, let me see if something pulls up on Google here. Okay, this is 3 days ago. Okay, hold on. What the month election? Okay, missing. Okay, there seems to be when I put that into Google, there's a lot coming up about disinformation regarding this hurricane first. Issues, update on response. Okay, Florida federal fact-checking comments, Rubio and DeSantis. Okay, no, that's late. Matt Gaetz voted against FEMA funding. Yeah, maybe he's some of the Republicans, that was the reason why I asked, because like you said, hey, things fall apart. Let me drop the link for you also. Let me see here. It seems like it's not good enough to ride the what do you call it? The fine line. It seems to me like it's better for DeSantis to just come out and call these kind of votes loony and just ask them to stop. You know what I mean? To please stop as a Republican. Because riding the line between MAGA and things working well and normal and smoothly, to me, it seems like it's not good enough to just ride the line, the political line. That just seems in these times, that's just not good enough. Because if you're not shooting down this kind of extremism, it's going to come back to you anyway, just like it did just with these hurricanes.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you can't be on both sides with this. You got to pick a side. And I don't know a lot about Ron DeSantis and his positions over the last few months, you know what I mean? But especially regarding this hurricane. But I don't know. It seems like this is like a serious problem, and you need all people on deck calling it out for what it is, or more problems are going to come. And lo and behold, another hurricane is coming.
Yeah.
So playing politics with this hurricane is immoral, if you ask me. It's just immoral. And I hope I hope people change their ways. I hope Americans wake up and recognize that there is almost no other nation in the Western world that would approach this disaster the same way as MAGA Republicans are doing. Like, it is just unconscionable. How do you let your own citizens of any party suffer during a disaster, a natural disaster, for politics, for political points? How's that possible? Hey, Pumpkin, this is too much. Hold on, let me see shit. She said, yeah, we good. She said, yes, Republicans voted against more aid to FEMA, but has Ron DeSantis made any comments about it, about the Republicans not funding it this time around, this last additional aid bill that they wanted to pass? Yeah, I don't know what to say about this. It's too much, but I want to see if Pumpkin wants to hop up for a second. And I don't even know if I want to cover Diddy. I mean, this Diddy stuff is like, it's just, I'm gonna tell you my prediction. Anybody want to hop up? Feel free. Otherwise, I'm going to shut it down after I make. Oh, here we go. Who else is this Pumpkin in the back? Oh, there you go, Pumpkin. Okay. Yeah, I was just
Yeah.
there you go. What's up?
Oh,
Morning.
nothing. Good morning.
Good
Oh,
morning.
no, I was reading that there was a lot of misinformation because they say that they put out stuff that says that FEMA's only giving out $750 per person, and that's it, which they say is a lie. They say
Right.
it's a big lie. So I don't know. It's a lot of misinformation. It's so much misinformation about everything. Everything. So yeah.
Yeah, I also
So
heard they made a similar thing about only 700. Apparently, that's not true either.
no, yeah, they said 750 when I saw it, and mostly all the stuff they saying is not true about it's coming from Trump, so they say. I've been busy, so I haven't really been keeping up with stuff like like I usually do. So
Mhm. Mm.
I don't, I'm following it now, and I got a new phone, and I don't know how to put WhatsApp on here. But anyway, I can't do, I can't find all the
Mm.
stuff that I want to find. ProPublica had something that I can't find anymore about this. So I don't know. I thought DeSantis went against it too. Went against
No, he
the
didn't. He
climate
didn't.
change too. I think he did. I don't know. Maybe that was misinformation too. There's so much stuff out here about the hurricane. And there is another hurricane coming through that area. So I don't know. They're watching
Well,
that. So I
DeSantis,
don't know.
DeSantis, he's a governor. He's not a senator, and he's not a congressional
Oh,
member. So, yeah, so he can't vote on it anyway.
yeah, I know. No, they said
But
something about he didn't want it, previous times. I don't know.
no,
I don't know what to believe anymore.
well, it says
He'd
that
be
he's been
crazy not
pro.
to want it.
Well, it
Huh?
says he's been pro hurricane relief, but the thing about it is that he's not the one in Congress or in the Senate responsible for the law, for the bill to pass funding. So, as the governor, he's not responsible for that. He's only responsible for receiving it once it's passed, right? And allocating it, maybe, or working together with FEMA in this particular case. But let me see is the who are the who are the senators and congressional reps from Florida. Let's see here. I just want to
And
see.
Rubio and Scott, and I
Is
don't know about all
Rubio
the
and
rest
Scott?
of them.
So, it's Marco Rubio and Rick Scott. So the question is, did they vote against it?
I think they did.
Let's search this list. This is crazy.
Maybe
Hold on.
maybe not. I don't. I'm have
Let
to
me
remember if I
control
heard their
F.
names or not.
Okay, maybe not. Damn, can I control this? Control. Hold on. Control F. Right now, let me see here. Hold on. Y'all can't see what I'm doing. Let me pull that up on the
If you go
screen
back to
real.
that article, it should show it.
Yeah. I'm on the article, but let me go here so y'all can see it. Let me see. Now let me say Rubio. No, Rubio. He's a Is that how you spell his name? No, wait.
RUBIO.
Okay, it's Marco Rubio. Let me see there. Oh, how about this? Florida. Let me see. Okay. Okay. Numerous okay, now let me just scroll down because there's obviously more of these. Let's see here. One, two. Okay. Some Republicans who voted against the bill represent states that have been hard hit, uh, including Florida Representative Mark Gates.
Matt
But
Gates.
but but what is he?
He's
He's a
a
representative.
he's a House rep.
Okay, he's a House rep. Okay. So the senators, okay, I got you. And he's a House rep. Okay. Look at that. So, in other words, DeSantis is going up against another Republican in his own state over this matter.
There was 10 of them.
Let me see here. Let me see the other one. Let's see here. Rick Scott. Let me type that up. Florida. Let's see if let's see. Rick Scott. Okay, his name didn't come up. Let me just go back to Florida. Boom, and see what pops up. Okay. So that was Matt Gates. Okay. Okay. Let's see here again. Boom. No. Representative Aaron Bean of Florida. Representative Gus Bilirakis. Okay, so these are from districts too. So they got districts, they got reps. Okay, Kat Kamek from Florida voted against it. Hold on. These are votes against it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let me just go back up here. House. Okay, below are the GDP, right, who voted against the bill. Okay. So, okay, right. So Aaron Bean from Florida. Okay, and who else? Representative Byron Donalds. So, Mark. Okay, Matt Gates,
Yeah,
Laura
it keeps. I
Lee.
think the senators after that.
Okay, okay, these are senators now. Okay, uh, Anna Paulina Luna. Okay, Corey Mills, Bill Posey, Mike Waltz of
Yeah, I
Florida.
think those are still House reps, though.
These are still House reps. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so it went through the House anyway, even though they voted against it. Uh, okay, that was it right there. 17 names from Florida that came up, or no, not names, but these are the names. So Rubio's name didn't come up. Matt Gates' name came up. Maybe I'm missing something here. Let me go back. Yes. Okay. But it doesn't matter because he's up against people in his own state. So actually, that's very, very interesting. Uh, that's really strange. You know that so they're against each other over this matter in Florida. Uh, yeah, that's and I'm just curious if DeSantis what his game plan is for that, or if there's anything anybody can do about that, or if it's just whatever, if they just feel hopeless and don't feel like they could do anything about it anyway. I don't know, but it seems like it's coming back to bite Republicans as usual, and but they don't seem to be too good at at doing much more than kicking themselves in the ass over stuff like this. And I know one thing for sure: I'll be damned if I don't believe any person that's against disaster relief on the federal level when when people already paid, contributed their federal tax dollars to FEMA. To me, I don't understand that one. I don't understand it. I don't think there's any way around it. You know, it's all you can do is want your tax dollars to be released for the funding. You know, and how could you be against it? I mean, I don't get it. You know, there's a place to fight these things out, and it's in Congress. But can't you fight it out after the relief comes? You know, after the after you get the relief, can't you solve that problem later? But it seems like they don't want to go about it that way. You know, they want to fight it out now before you get the relief. You know, I don't get it. I don't get it. So it's kind of like countdown. But any case, I'm not even going to do P Diddy today because it's too silly. You know, he's locked up. He ain't going to get out. I don't believe he's going to get out at all. I think he's done. It's done for him. Just two of those charges. The maximum penalty is life, and that's the one about false imprisonment, something like that, and transporting, you know, trafficking people across the border. And I think just that Casey case where he beat her, I think that is like two. That's two charges right there, very clear, I believe. So if they just get him on just that, he is a possibility he won't ever get out, or he will get life. You know, so he's got 5 charges in all. So and 2 of them have maximum life sentences on them. So and that's the trafficking of people, and the imprisonment, false imprisonment. I believe they call it false imprisonment. But in any case, let's just touch up here and see where yeah, Pumpkin said he ain't never come home. And let's see what they say about the election cycle this time around. Yes.
One way you can get an understanding of that through history, right? Campaigns where
And this is, what is this? This is just, yeah, 3 hours ago, apparently, something like that.
candidate held a lead of at least 5 or more points in the polls. We're going to go all the way back since 1964. Most campaigns, at least one candidate led by 5 points or more, at least 64 to 2020. If you look this year, there are 0 days, count them, 0 days, where either Kamala Harris or Donald Trump has been ahead by at least 5 points in the polls. In fact, you could go all the way back when Joe Biden was going to be the presumptive Democratic nominee. And even back then, no candidate at least 5 points in the polls. The bottom line is this is a historically close race, and it's a historically consistent race, Jessica.
What? Oh, okay. Hold on. Must be some commercial trying to enter you. Yeah. Yeah, they want to sell
I'm gonna go ahead and drop
you a
off.
game, y'all. Come and play this game while you having your disaster. Hop down. I hear you, Andrea.
Let's talk about swing
Yeah, I'm gonna
states.
hop
What are we
down.
So,
Okay.
seeing there?
All right.
okay, okay. Thanks for hopping up. I appreciate you, Andrea.
You're welcome.
I just caught myself. Yeah, yeah. Okay, let's see here. Let's see what they're saying here. This is like the last update 3 hours ago on the polling in the U.S. They say it's a tight race, and it apparently is.
So, you know, we talk about
Me, again, I just want to remind those people voting for Trump out there that I have universal health care where I live as an American citizen, which is outside of the U.S. My kids get paid to go to school, technical school, university. They don't pay to do it. If they want to get an extra loan on top of what they get paid, that's their business. But you know, I get 5 weeks vacation every year from work, paid. You know, if I was to have a child tomorrow, I would get paid leave from work, a year off for each child. I could split it with the mom. That would give me 6 months, her 6 months. We could take it at the same time, or we could take it separately, or I could give her my 6 months. She could keep it. There's flexibility like that. And where I live in Denmark as an American citizen, but I'm voting for Kamala Harris and Tim Walz because I want Americans to get more out of their tax money, more social things that you need. Child care. I get child care here. You know, it's subsidized. And that's for everybody. It's based on your income. It's partially subsidized, not fully, but some people get it all if they need it. You know, I'm for those policies in the US. And so I'm voting for Kamala Harris and Tim Walz because I feel like loads of Americans have expressed that they have a need for things like that from their tax dollars that they pay. These people that live in major states around the country like DC, New York, even Florida, California, Chicago, they pay the same tax rate as I pay. So I don't see why I wouldn't want other Americans to have those same rights. Yeah, so that's why I'm voting for Kamala Harris. And the people that don't want those things, don't vote for them. But you're not stopping this American who already has those things while I live in another country and pay taxes. So just a reminder to you all, what you're voting for and what you're voting against, and how you're not really stopping the Americans who live abroad in countries like I do from having those things through our taxes. And ironically enough, I still have to report my taxes to the US government, but that's another story. But here we go.
About these national polls, the national polls really don't mean very much. Those battleground states, and of course, let's take a look at what I call the core 7 battleground states. All right, this is again your Harris versus Trump margin, and look at these Great Lake battleground states: Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin. Look, you see some blue on this side of the screen, right? These are a little bit more friendly to Kamala Harris than the Sun Belt that we'll get to in a second. But look at this: a 1-point advantage in Pennsylvania, 2 points in Michigan, 2 points in Wisconsin, all well within the margin of error, too close to call. You come over now to the Sun Belt battleground states, you got a little bit more red here. Trump up by a point in North Carolina, Arizona, Georgia, Nevada. Harris holding on to a 1-point advantage, but again, very tight. So what does this mean? Right, so let's take a look and say, okay, imagine if the polls match what ends up being the results perfectly, right? That's probably not going to happen, but for the sake of this exercise, let's do it. What we see, of course, is Harris carrying, let's get some green font here. There we go. Carrying all of these Great Lake battleground states: Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, and then she also carries Nevada. But you see again Trump, Arizona, Georgia, North Carolina. Look at this. Kamala Harris gets to exactly 276 electoral votes, slightly more than the 270 she needs to win. Donald Trump right behind at 262. But the bottom line is, Jessica, at this hour, this race remains incredibly tight. We've done these segments over the last month. This battleground map, simply put, really hasn't changed. Maybe a slight advantage to Kamala Harris, but a race that remains way too close to call.
And you're right. It is remarkable how consistent it's been in that. I also am curious, what if the polls are off? There have been previous elections, of course, where that's happened. What if that happens?
What happens if the polls are slightly off? Remember, back in 2020, the polls underestimated Donald Trump. So what happens if we have a similar error across those key battleground states? Well, if that happens again, look at this. Donald Trump carries all of these Great Lake battleground states. He carries Nevada as well. Of course, he carries Arizona, Georgia, North Carolina, and he gets to get this: 312 electoral votes. So the bottom line is, if we have an error like we did 4 years ago, Donald Trump is going to win this election. Kamala Harris is going to lose. But here's the thing. Everyone always says, oh, the polls were off in 2020. They're going to be off this year. Not necessarily. Because what happens if the polls are off like they were in 2022, which of course was only 2 years ago, those midterm elections? Well, then we put all these Great Lake battleground states right back into Kamala Harris's column. She wins in the Southeast, in Georgia and North Carolina. She wins in Arizona, and she wins in Nevada. And then it's a Harris blowout: 319 electoral votes to Donald Trump's 219. So the bottom line is this. We are at this point right now where the race is so tight, but even though it's so tight, don't be surprised if either one of these candidates come election night and the days to follow, and we're counting those votes, ends up running away with this. The bottom line is this. This race is too close to call. It really could go either way. And the margin of error in presidential election polling, when we have races this close, are much wider than I think folks think.
Right, right. And I think you underscore such an important point, which is that it is historically close. And also, if it tips one way or the other at the end, it could look like a blowout in the Electoral College for one of these candidates, which is kind of a fascinating dynamic kind of built into all of this, Harry.
I know. Our founders, who knew?
Who knew? I guess they thought they did. Harry Inton, thanks so much for that.
Thank
we appreciate it. Let's turn now to our panel. Joining me now, Democratic strategist and former senior advisor for the Bernie Sanders presidential campaign, Chuck Rocha, and also with us, Republican strategist Katie Frost.
What do you think, Pumpkin? What's your prediction?
Oh, I don't know. Harris is going to win, I believe.
Yeah, that's
I
my
hope
prediction.
so. Huh?
That's your
Can you hear
prediction.
me?
Yep. Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh,
Can
yeah.
you hear me?
I think she's gonna win because it's too much at stake in that Project 2025. Now, if that hadn't leaked out, I would say Trump had a good chance of winning, but he don't. In my opinion, he doesn't have uh, that much of a chance to win because Project 25 is deadly to everybody. The more you read about it, the more you understand. You see that people are not for it because the more they read, they see that it's the destruction of America on a whole. It's not just black people anymore. Project 2025 is geared towards taking away or taking people back to like the 1920s because stuff I remember my father talking about working. He would work from 6 in the morning to 6 at night, and the pay was very little. Black people left the South to come in to come to the better jobs in the industrial cities of the North.
Hmm.
So yeah, I really don't. I really don't think the election is gonna be the problem because I think Harris is gonna win. That's gonna be the problem. The after election is what I think is where the problem's gonna come in. I
Oh,
think
you
he's
mean
gonna
with
try to steal.
yeah, they're
Yeah, he's
encouraging
gonna
people to
try to
riot.
steal. Yeah, but I don't think it'll be like January 6th, 20
Mhm.
20 or whatever it was. I don't think it's going to be like that. I don't even think they're going to let the crowds get anywhere near the Capitol this time. I think they're ready. I think it may turn bloody. Who knows?
Mhm.
But I
Mhm.
think Harris will win. Harrison Wall will win. But it's the aftermath that's going to be. I don't
Yeah.
know. Then it might not even be. Yeah. You're
I
using the new.
personally I personally think that I think you're right. Like I think Harris is going to win, and I think the Republicans they keep every day by day inching towards inciting violence and calling for violence essentially. And I think in Republican talk, that's probably going to turn into like some shootings and things like typical things that is always happening from this type right wing type of stuff. And it's typical threats of civilians, you know, political violence against civilians. Yeah. So, but at the same time, look at what's at stake. You know, they're telling you they're coming to harm you anyway. That's what you voted against. So what you gonna do? Not vote? Because some Republicans are going to get angry. They're telling you if they get power, they're coming after you.
Yeah, it's gonna be. Oh, I think this is gonna be bloody. I hate to say it, but
Yeah, yeah.
I,
Well,
but I believe the government is going to. This time, I think the government will bring in the army because I don't know. I just think that's what they're gonna do.
yeah, I think they're
I
going to take a more aggressive approach this time around against this type
Yeah,
of violence, electoral violence. And the federal government has stated that already that they are, they're expecting it. They've seen people, they know people are organizing for it, um, and that they're going to be punishing and prosecuting anybody, not just. I don't even think they're waiting for people. I think if they even find any planning going on, boom, they jumping on it, you know.
they're ready this time.
Yeah, they're ready this time. Yeah. Donnie asked, did y'all chime in on Elon? No, I didn't chime in on Elon yet. I mean, I saw he went to a Trump rally. Let's go to him real
No,
quick.
he went against Trump.
He went
I
against
didn't
Trump.
read it, but he went against Trump. That's what the headline said. He went against. I've been busy. I moved, so I
What?
haven't really been checking
He
anything
just
out
spoke at
like
a
that.
Trump rally. He just spoke at a Trump rally.
He went against Trump, so they say. Who knows? That's what I'm saying. There's so much misinformation out here. You don't know who to believe.
Look, a day ago he was with Trump on stage.
The article I saw said that he went against Trump. Elon Musk goes off on Trump. Now, is it true? I don't know. I haven't seen it anymore.
Elon
I
Musk.
have a new, yeah.
Okay. Let me see something here. Elon Musk, CNN. Let me see. How about ABC? Let's not do CNN, because every time I do CNN, this Elon Musk hit campaign truck. I mean, yeah, I don't see this. Maybe he went against Trump on a couple of things. What did they mean against Trump? Did he say something that was
I
against?
don't know. I don't know because I've been busy because I moved and I've been busy and I really can't. I tried to send it. I can't because I went from iPhone to an Android phone.
Whoa. I think I know what they're talking about. Here it is.
Of the three major crises facing the country this week, Secretary of Treasury Pete Buttigieg played a key role in helping address two of them. He helped to end the historic port strike by the Longshoremen's Association after just 3 days, which is very fast, by the way, narrowly avoiding what could have been an economic disaster. And he's assisting in the emergency response to Hurricane Helene, which has destroyed critical infrastructure and left people stranded in isolated areas. That job, as I was just talking about, has been made more difficult by a swarm of MAGA-amplified misinformation that threatens to confuse victims of the storm and waste very valuable resources. Joining me now, Secretary of Transportation Pete Buttigieg. Secretary, to see you, and I know you've had quite a week, so I appreciate you being here to talk to us about everything you've been working on. And I know we're going to talk about the port strike, but I want to start with the hurricane and the aftermath of Hurricane Helene, because your department and you have also played in helping with that. And the Washington Post reports that rumors and conspiracy theories have already prompted unnecessary evacuations, and some of these falsehoods have been viewed millions of times on social media. That's just some of the reporting. There's lots of reporting in local papers as well about how damaging this has been. But you and your department have been so involved. How damaging has the misinformation been, and what impacts are you seeing in terms of the recovery and the people who are trying to find loved ones and get accurate information?
Well, it can have a real cost for people on the ground who are already dealing with so much. And, you know, it's right up there with making sure that people have access to transportation, making sure they get their power back on, making sure communications come back. Another part of that is making sure you can get good, accurate, and useful information. Unfortunately, that has become, in many ways, more difficult in the current digital information environment. And so it's become more important than ever to have trusted and reliable sources. We've worked to make sure that information that gets to users is good. For example, state 511 systems, and then for responders, we set up a routing assistance hotline, just so that if you're involved in an emergency operation, you could call and get our data about where a road might actually be open and available, or out of service where a bridge was taken out. But you look at what's going on online, a lot of it seems to be driven by politics, and that is actively harming and disrupting the process of getting back to normal for so many people whose lives were upended by this awful storm.
And the recovery is still certainly continuing. That's very helpful information for people to know out there. I saw this. I'm sure a lot of people saw this. You actually personally pushed back against some misinformation about hurricane relief in an exchange with Elon Musk, of all people, on Twitter. We are showing it right there, basically telling him that he could call you if he was confused. Whatever you told him seemed to work, because he publicly thanked you and said you're on the ball, which is not something he typically does. Did you end up speaking with him, or did he just take your word for it online?
No, he took me up on that. He called. We had a conversation. What we found out was actually happening was the FAA was not closing down any airspace, but there was an issue with pilots who were helping get Starlink equipment to where it needed to be, having the right information. We worked that with local authorities, and we're able to take care of it. And I think to me it's an example of how often the best thing to do is just to pick up the phone. I don't want to get too much into the weeds, but since there has been some confusion and even misinformation about flight restrictions, I should probably explain how it works. This is a process that has been in place for decades, and basically what happens is if you have a disaster area, there's a lot of rescue operations going on. A local airport or fire department or the Coast Guard flying helicopters, somebody like that, can request what's called a TFR. It doesn't shut down the airspace, but it increases the level of coordination because you want to make sure that that airspace is safe and that you prevent the risk of collisions. And so when you hear that term, that's what's going on. Again, I don't mean to get that technical, but I've been amazed at how a little kernel of some detail gets blown up on the internet into something that it's not. And some of what I've seen going on around what the FAA does to coordinate and facilitate rescue flights, including a lot of good Samaritans who are out there as civilians helping because they have pilot's licenses, and that's a great thing. It's just important that they coordinate and make sure that it's safe.
No question. Sometimes weedy details are essential to making sure people have accurate information. Okay, so let's talk about the port strike. If this had not been resolved, and I mentioned this, that it was resolved very quickly, and people should understand that, but it would have had a huge impact on the economy. And I don't know, with everything going on out there, that everybody understands the depth of the crisis that was averted. So what would have happened? Because I'm sure you did some scenario planning. You all thought about this internally. What would have happened had this strike continued for weeks or even months?
Yeah, this was a major concern for our transportation systems. I think if it were not for the fact that there was so much else going on that same week, it would have been the number one thing on Americans' minds. And it has caused some issues that the ports and supply chains are working their way through, but they'll be able to catch up. There's a big difference between a short stoppage, long stoppage. In about 3 days, there was a deal where the parties agreed to higher wages for these dock workers who are very, very deserving. You got to understand, these are folks who come to work in really tough conditions. They didn't get much of a raise under the last contract. Many of them were going to work days of COVID. Dozens of them lost their lives. The enormous profitability that the shipping sector has experienced in recent years. Now, what happened was an agreement to get back to work, an agreement provisionally on increased wages, and they're going to get back to the table and work through other things like what to do about technology and automation and some issues around other pay royalties and benefits that go along with their work. But the bottom line is we really on our ports. We experienced this with a lot of issues on those coast ports in 2021. We were able to work through those so that they had record throughput by the end of that year. But you could really feel the pinch. And in order to make sure that our economy is running smoothly, there's just no substitute for having all of our freight systems, whether we're talking about trains, whether we're talking about ports, whether we're talking about highways and bridges. We need all of them up and running. And I'm very glad that they're back up and running as of today.
Secretary Buttigieg, thank you so much for.
Yeah, I actually forgot about that port strike. Let me pull something up here. I don't know if this is like. Oh, go ahead. What you want to say? Go ahead.
No, I was going to say that port strike. A friend of mine, her son, he works at the port, and that was serious. That was really, really serious because he was saying how. He was telling me and his mother how dangerous that work is because he's like
it is dangerous work. It's
he
not
got
easy
a
work.
security clearance for what he does because a lot of foreign cars, like those real expensive cars, that they like the Lamborghinis, the really like expensive cars, come through the port. People don't know that, but they do come through the port. So it would have destroyed the economy. It would have destroyed the economy. But they're going to go back. What that didn't say is January 15th, they're going back for more after the election and after the inauguration. They're going back for more. Right. I think they're expecting Harris to win and they want to go back in with when Harris is in office
Well,
to get more.
they're not going to get a raise under Trump's not going to support it. He already said it. But check this out to illustrate what you were just saying. Possibly. Now look, this short right here. This short
We
I
will
got
find.
up. It has what a
That is
thousand
who?
something
Who is this
views.
guy?
Huh?
Who is this guy
A
that you
short.
just pointed?
I'm
Oh,
going to
it's a
show you.
short.
It's yeah, it's a short on my YouTube page. It got almost 2,000 views just in the last couple of days. But in any case, I'm going to show you. Listen to this, and I'm going to show you what people commented.
We will find out right now. The fact that Biden has come out pretty forcefully saying taking the side of the workers and putting pressure on the employers. Employers have offered a 50% wage increase. The union is asking for a 77% wage increase. Yeah, they're not off by that much in my view. So I could see a deal getting done, but if it doesn't, then this is not all for symbolism. This is real, and they're gonna battle it out. It might take a long time.
So Goldman Sachs, Ryan, came out and said if this goes for 10 days, this would mean about 45,000 job losses, 0.2% of GDP. Translation, that is tens of billions of dollars. You just told me that some sort of 250 containers, I believe, at least that companies that you deal with are stuck there. Are the companies starting to raise prices right now?
Yeah,
shipping costs going up.
Yeah, you've seen it a little bit. There's a lot of fees that are coming. We will find out right now.
So this was averted, right? But look at this comment. Look at this comment. And it just shocks me. I don't know this. Chuck Matley sounds like an American name. Let me show people something though, just to illustrate another point. Look, see, person here joined. This is 1 year ago exactly. Anonymous and unidentified. But so this could be
We will find out, right?
This could be a troll, right? But check this out. These trolls, they come out on these type of issues. And look at this comment. What they want will drive up. He's talking about what they want. The workers claiming that what the workers want, a raise, right, will drive up the price of goods and the cost of living for all of us. They're already making some unbelievably good. I am becoming much in favor of robotics because now look what I wrote. Replacing people will solve the problem of lack of affordable housing, healthcare, access to education, etc., etc., etc. You will still have those issues. How about take care of those issues first so that the cost of goods can stay down? What do you think? What do you think the people want the raise for? Paying bills. That's what they want the raise for. Paying bills. And they risk their life at these ports. Accident on a port, you could die. People die all the time working on these ports. If you don't know how much they make, right? If you don't know, the details of the dock workers, how much they get paid in terms of how much they risk. Usually, if you could die on a job, and usually if a certain amount of if security clearance and things like this is wanted, because there's a lot of things that go through those ports. There's a lot of things, loads of things. Some of those things are dangerous. Like you said, what happens if a container falls on you? Then what you gonna do? You're dead.
Have you
Any compensation to your family?
have
Any?
Have you ever seen this movie?
Yeah, go
It's an
ahead. Go ahead,
old,
Pumpkin.
old classic movie. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. But have you ever seen this movie? It's called On the Waterfront. It was like a debut. It was in the 50s, but it it was taken in, I think it was in Port of Newark or Bayonne or something. But anyway, it was a true story about the longshoremen were never getting paid because it was taken over by the mafia. I mean, all of this was in the paper when I was younger. So it shows a container being lifted to be put on top of another container to be transported, and it fell and crushed the guy. So it is very dangerous work. I don't know if the mob is still in there because we're talking like in the 50s, the early 50s when this movie came out and when it was a big deal and stuff. So I don't know if you ever see it, it's old, but it's a classic, but it's relevant for what they're talking about, like the conditions of working and stuff and how they don't get paid enough for what they do. So I don't know.
You know what?
Fort Newark and
Average,
Porterville.
the USA versus the EU. Let me see something here. First of all, like where I'm at, where I live at, you get, first of all, people have to recognize when you work on a port, you're working outside all year, all weather, the hottest weather with your safety equipment on, your and your work gear on, cold weather with that on, you're working outside, freezing weather, um, scorching hot weather. These things, are not easy to do. And there are some elements there with it. It's a dangerous job. It's not an easy job. It's a laborious job, and you're doing it outside, and you have to show up daily. So, what happens if you die? What happens if you get injured? Where's the compensation? What are the security, what's the social benefits and security looking like for these people? And what are the wages really look like? Like me, I don't know what the wages are, but I always start off there with something. See, I don't just go to Google, a meme on Facebook or a meme somewhere and see what's written there and then start reciting it and claim I know something. I don't hunker down and argue points if I haven't even researched the points. You know what I mean? And a lot of people recite information without ever even researching any of it. So the fact that I don't know something is a good point because it starts me off with good, honest research about a topic, right? And then I can learn something about it. And then later I can give my perspective on it. But this person, you can see they made that comment. They don't even tell you how much the dock workers get paid. Look, here, he says, unbelievably, look, what they want the gooder prices. Who the hell wants to drive the price of goods when they're the ones that have to pay for the goods too? What sense does that comment make? It doesn't make any sense. But you will hear that that's probably a theme that's being spread on media right now about that strike. To do anything to make Biden look bad. Biden went in there, resolved the strike, averted a real 2-point drop in the GDP, because that's what's going to happen if dock strikers strike. That's tens of billions of dollars just right there, automatically, right off the top. Let alone how many stores won't be stocked with goods, things like this, how inconvenient that's going to be. But who would start a strike that's going to bring up the cost of goods towards themselves if it wasn't even necessary? Now, check this out. I didn't know from the beginning anything about that topic. That's a great starting point, saying you don't know, because then you can do some honest research for yourself, right? Now, I don't know what those dock workers get paid. He's talking about they get an unbelievably good wage, unbelievably great wage already. He's like, why are they striking? I'm for robots. Who the hell is for robots replacing human beings? The human beings are going to need a job. Where do you get a job in a society where you have to pay to go to school? It doesn't make sense. You see what I mean? It's ridiculous to just throw that out there. You're for robots, man. Anyway, but in any case, average pay in the USA, dock workers and longshoremen. Let me see something. Let me just play this real quick as I read it too.
The average dock worker's pay can vary significantly between the US and the EU, influenced by factors like location, experience, and the specific industry sector they work in. Average pay in the US. 1. Dock workers and longshoremen. In the U.S., dock workers, particularly longshoremen, often earn a good wage due to the physical demands and skills required for the job. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, BLS, the median annual wage for water transportation workers was about $61,407 in May 2022. However, pay can range widely based on location and experience, with some workers earning upwards of $90,000 annually, especially in major ports like Los Angeles and New York. 2. Union representation. Many dock workers are part of unions, which can negotiate higher wages and benefits. Unionized workers generally receive better compensation and job security compared to non-unionized workers. Average pay in the EU. 1. Dock workers and longshoremen. In the EU, dock workers' salaries also vary widely by country. For instance, in countries like Germany and the Netherlands, dock workers can earn between €30,000 to €50,000 annually, approximately $32 to $54. In contrast, dock workers in Eastern European countries may earn considerably less, often around €15,000 to €25,000 annually, about $16,000 to $27,000. 2. Collective bargaining. Similar to the US, many dock workers in the EU are unionized, which helps to secure better wages and working conditions. Union negotiations can lead to more competitive salaries in countries with strong labor movements. Comparison. Overall, U.S. dock workers tend to have higher average wages compared to their EU counterparts, particularly in major ports. The differences can be attributed to labor market conditions, unionization rates, and the economic context of each region. While skilled dock workers in the U.S. can earn significantly more, the pay disparities in the EU highlight the variations within the region itself, where Western European countries typically offer higher wages than those in Eastern Europe. For more detailed insights, you can refer to...
So check this out. The dock workers, the pay range, you still there, Pumpkin? Oh, the dock workers, right? Let me go back through this real quick for folks. Check this out. Now, what you have to factor in, right? You see the discrepancy in the pay range, right? 61,000, which is not really a whole lot in the US for one person, one salary. That's what major city you're going to live in? 61,000, one person. Tell me where you're going to live. In DC, 61,000 is the minimum you want to be making if you want to have your own home, your own place, not even a house. Talking about apartment, live alone with so, but keep in mind, you have to pay child care. Keep in mind, you're paying for health care. Some people, a lot of people, it may not all be free to health care. Keep in mind, you might have to be paying off student debt, things like that, right? In the EU, for this same salary, right here, this Western EU, 30 to 50,000, these people are getting, they don't pay for health care out of that 50,000 EUs. No health care. What student debt are they paying off? They go to school for free. Are they getting any housing insurance? Yes. Subsidized housing. Everybody gets it in the country I live in. Everybody gets it. So they may get paid more, but your salary, what's your salary actually going to with that? I guarantee you, when you factor all those things in, taxes too, right? What do you get for your taxes is the question again. So I don't think that salary looks like a whole lot. But when you're working outside in the cold, in the freezing cold, in the steaming hot, and you're risking your life, you could die or be injured. You see, luckily some of those are union jobs, but I wonder how many of those jobs are contracted out to third party or something, how they try to cut through. I don't know what it's like, but in any case, you do have to factor in the fact that people are paying for healthcare and things like that still in the US. It's not universal healthcare. And the dock workers in like countries like I live in, Germany has universal health care. Netherlands has universal health care. Netherlands on par is one of the countries that's on par to Denmark in comparison. Paid education, these kind of things. So they're not paying off student debt like American dock workers might be paying off. You never know. Child care, subsidized child care in the Netherlands, in the country I live in Denmark. You see what I mean? Is there subsidized child care in the US? Or do they, what's the deal with those things? So I don't think you could say dock workers get paid a whole lot, an extreme amount of money in the US, and that striking is not necessary. How about go be a dock worker and find that out for yourself first before you comment on it. Apparently, the dock working is not an easy job. You're going to be on your feet how many hours a day? Outside, how many hours a day? And you will be risking your life every single day. Yeah, replacing it with robots. So what job are those people going to get now? How's the housing? Any affordable housing for, how's that going to look? I don't think you can just change things like that. You got to respect workers, and it's good to see at least that they're unionized so that they have a chance in negotiating a fair wage for the expenses that they have: housing, childcare, healthcare, things like this. You see what I mean? So in any note, folks, I'm out of this piece. I appreciate everybody for coming through. Pumpkin, Andrea, Donnie, Ralph, and also folks that come along and will hear this cast later on. Let me know what you think. Subscribe, leave a comment in the comment section when you get a moment to do that. And oops, what did I come out of here? And on that note,